What about, there we go. My computer tried to play me today. All right. It wasn't a test, not a test at all. My computer tried to play me, but welcome. It's good to have you. I was excited. And now, it took me down a few notches, but it's okay. I'm going to build myself back up because my computer likes to change settings on its own sometimes. But happy Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of Mastermind Academy. Welcome back to Pipelines, day 6 of 16. We are moving our way through. We're chugging along, but it's good to see you all. So there was a GPU driver update, which does affect the NVIDIA broadcast stuff. I send my mic through NVIDIA broadcast, where it does the fancy machine learning to remove the sound in the background. There's a ton of ceiling fan noise. There's other things going on in the house. So you would hear a lot more noise if I didn't have it. So I think that affects it sometimes whenever there's a GPU update. I don't think I've done the GPU update yet, but it's good to see everyone. How are you doing? Who was first? Penguin Airlines, as usual. You have been number one so many times. Congratulations on continuing to be the champion of the number one spot. Aya, game time. How you doing today? What's up, AI Luna? Good to see you. Shred Ghoul, welcome. Britvic, it's good to see you as well. Chris, good to see you as well. Let's see. Nitro Sage, C Sanchez, Gromit. Yes, I was on mute. Burning JC, all my good people. Crystallized Code, welcome. Hopefully everybody's having a great night this evening. Propagation 69, welcome. Good to have you. Hikaroshi, welcome as well. It's really good to put a face to a name. If you haven't sent me a message on LinkedIn, if no one sent me a request on LinkedIn, hit ! LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure that's a command. I'm guessing at this point, but hopefully it is. Send me a message. It might take me a little bit to get back to you, but definitely send me a message. I'd love to put a name to the face. Let me know what your handle is on here. It's pretty dope to know everybody. You definitely have the most gold stars for sure. Cool. Yeah, so today gonna be pretty chill. We're gonna put into action what we learned on Monday. So we took Monday and we dove into a lot of coding concepts. For some of you, this may have been a walk in the park. You may have seen those things before. For others of you, I know that's the first time you've ever seen anything about coding. And so it was a lot in one day. You should not you shouldn't know how to code now, but you should be a little more comfortable in starting your journey and learning how to code better. Now, today, what we're going to do is take all the stuff that we learned on Monday, and try to implement a real world style solution. It's a little fun. It's not super realistic, but it is something. The actual work you're doing is super realistic. So we'll do that today, and we'll try to get through. I try to keep it pretty chill, so that we don't end up taking 3 or 4 hours to do it. I want to make sure you take some time to understand what's going on. So should be pretty cool. And then if we get through it pretty quickly, we will continue to add to it and make it better and better. What do you use for the website, specifically the template? Someone said Gatsby. Yes, I use Gatsby for the mastermind.io website. I use Hugo actually for just mastermind.io. It's actually a Hugo site. Rockstar, welcome to the channel. Perfect timing. We just started. I love it. It's free real estate. Welcome everybody in from the Rockstar channel. I hope you had a great stream today. Let me know what you were doing. You came in at the perfect time. We're just about to get started with our setup of our ETL pipeline, our ETL process for what we're gonna do today. Nobody knows what we're gonna do yet. I haven't told anyone yet. But it's a chill thing that we can hopefully get through in 2 hours, which we should be able to do. I haven't done this process. I thought about it and I was like, hey, let's go through it live. I don't like to pre-do any of the projects or things that we're doing, because I don't want to. I want you to see the process of us trying to figure it out. I want you to see my process. I want you to see, I want it to be some variability, so it's not always the same as well. But welcome everyone. What's up, Octagonal Raven? Welcome Chaos for the Fly. Good to see you. Definite Optimist. I appreciate that, the love and the support. Define Evil. I love it. More than Freeman. Welcome. Cold Blue Mist. Y'all have the best names. Habaneros, how are you doing? Define Evil. Welcome. Cool. Great stream. Did some web scraping and payment portal for customers. That's perfect. You did some Python. Well, I'm assuming, what did you use for it? Were you using Python for the web scraping? When people say web scraping, I automatically go to Python. And if you were using Python, you may not have been. You may have been using Selenium or something instead. Okay, JavaScript for everything. Okay. All right. Well, everyone can, I get it. I find web scraping in everything else besides Python to be a little bit weird. But, to each his own. I also, I don't have the need to script the web that often. Okay, so Yeah, it is. It's faster in the chat. I mean, I'm seeing it at perfect speed. It's just getting to y'all a little bit later than usual. So what I want you to do is we're gonna hold on. Let's change views really quick. What we're gonna do is I want you to go ahead and hit exclamation point. Wait, first let me get logged into the chat on here on my actual coding computer. Go ahead and hit that exclamation point. Oh, thank you. Yes, perfect. Because we are going to be doing some stuff about space today, and I'm about to introduce you to it now. Hit exclamation point project. If someone hits exclamation point project, it will give you a link to a Notion page. Okay. And on that Notion page, it's simply this is a very light intro to an ETL process. This is very light. The reason why it's very light is because, again, the goal is to help you understand the concept of it. I have resources coming for you that go deeper into each of these sections. All right, so we're learning how to actively do this, like what you would see in the real world, how the process that you see. You might do this a lot, especially as an infrastructure engineer or DevOps or SRE. ETL processes are quite common, and you have to do them for all types of things. And they're not nearly always the same. And the scenario is dumb, but the work that we're gonna do here is should be pretty chill. And again, I think we should get through it pretty fast. I hope. I always say that. I took a bunch of stuff out. That we can add to later. It's actually, I'm waiting to drop the assignment for this because I'm gonna have you, one of your assignments is gonna be to extend this to have a few more functions inside of it to do some more specific things. But I wanted to wait to see what we got through. I didn't want to have to condense too much into a single amount of time. So go ahead and click on that link, and this is what we have here. So tonight we're gonna talk about extract, transforming, and loading ETL processes, specifically with Python. And that's only because we started to learn Python on Monday, and because Python is a great systems language. It is great for automation. That is what I want you to dive into tonight. One of the pillars of, both SRE and DevOps and all, like, dealing with infrastructure nowadays, period, is automation. And so we want to think about automating tasks that might suck to do by hand, or that need to happen on a repeated basis. So we want to make sure that these things can be done automatically without anyone else's help. So cool. Is there a relationship between ETL and Hadoop like Mapreduce? Yes. I've never heard of ETL, but I'm sure, yes, 100%. Usually Mapreduce is a type of a type of transform with the goal of loading somewhere. So 100%, you are correct. ETL is the broader term, and something like Mapreduce, it is usually done inside of that transform phase, ready, like when it's getting ready to be put into where it wants to be. So yes, 100%. No, you are not late. We are just starting just now. And so, like, ETL is exactly what it sounds like. That's what's so interesting about it. That's why there's only a couple of bullet points here, because for the most part, ETL is exactly what it sounds like. We can dive deeper into each one of these, but we're going to dive into it at surface level first. And then, like I said, I'll provide some resources to make it better, because we only have 2 hours to learn about it and to implement an actual implementation. So what in the world is an ETL process? What is ETL? So an extract, transform, load, or ETL process, or ETL for short, is a process designed to take data from a source. All right, so from a source, from one place, process it, transform that data, specifically that data, and insert it into a new destination. This is a simplified thing. It's a very simplified thing, but this is what we're gonna be, that's a simplified answer to what it is. But that at face level, at face value, that's exactly what's happening. You are getting data from one location. Oh no, are we pausing? It looks good on my end. My metrics look good. Let me know if we start having problems, because we have been having issues in the past. So just let me know. All right, cool. So we're taking data from one source. We're taking data from a source. We are processing it. We are transforming it. There's some things that go in there. You might be asking, what do you mean by processing? What does that mean? We're going to go in there, and then we are going to load that data somewhere else. We're going to put it into a new destination. And so that's the goal here. That's the central goal of every ETL process. And we'll learn about why you might want to do that. So do you ever teach Spring here? No. Discuss or teach Spring? I don't. I kind of stay away from Java, to be honest. I don't hate Java. I don't know Java very well. No, we don't. We just, well, mostly because I don't know it. And I think that there are nowadays Java and Spring. Let me be very clear about this. Learning Java can be very valuable, and you can get jobs 100%. I'm not saying it's not a dead language or anything like that. I just think that there are better languages to hop into for learning. The goal here is to learn and to be able to give you the tools to be able to go learn Java and Spring yourself. And you know, that's what we do here. Sorry about that. Sorry, Razor Suit. I'm definitely sorry about that. See, I don't know. So I never know if they give me transcoding or not, but if they did give me transcoding, you should be able to reduce the quality to something lower. It looks like they did not. It's hit or miss. Hopefully we'll be partner soon. You know, once we become partner, then I'll always get transcoding and you'll be able to drop you'll be able to drop the quality of the stream. But right now I do not have that. New question: what's 6 of 16 in your title referring to? Define evil. This is a 16-part series. This is something right now called Pipelines, which is a journey in a software delivery infrastructure and automation, DevOps and SRE concepts basically. And we are in 6 of 16, so 8 weeks, twice a week. We also have one called Decoded, which runs Tuesday and Thursday, which is software engineering and computer science focus, and one that runs only on Fridays called Horizons, which is cloud computing with AWS. So yeah, that is everything that we're doing. And you can just do Academy. If you want to see all those things, if you go to academy.mastermind.io and look at the journeys section, you'll be able to see all of those things. Yeah. Java, I mean, you know, I really don't hate Java, and you 100% a valuable language. People are always like, oh, there's tons of Java jobs. Yeah, 100%, 200%. But I think I'd like to give you the tools with something else, and then you can go learn Java if you need to. All right, let's see. It seemed to that's weird. So you may not be able to, like I said, only sometimes do you get transcoding. Like when you're an affiliate, I'm only an affiliate, so I only get transcoding sometimes. So it seems to be dropping a lot for a bunch of people. It looks good on it, like I'm not seeing any issues with the stream. I don't know. This one I don't know how to fix. So because I don't see any transcoding, I'm gonna keep an eye on the bitrate to make sure it's pushing out what it's supposed to be pushing out, and hopefully try doing a hard refresh or something, and let me know if that helps at all. All right, so we just heard about a little bit about what an ETL process is. It takes some data from a source, you process it, and you load it somewhere else. Why in the world would you want to do something like that? Well, we are living in a world where all we're doing is transmitting data. Data is very, very important, extremely important. Different sources are collecting different data about different things, and you may want to use that data. You may want to be able to use data that another system is collecting, or another maybe it's another vendor, maybe it's in-house at your own company where some system is aggregating data, and you want to be able to grab that data and do something else with it. The goal of this is to take necessary information, process it, because if someone else is collecting data, if someone else is collecting data, or another application or something, it's likely in a different format than you need. It probably has other information than you need, and you need to do a specific use case. You're usually trying to get data in a specific format for you to be able to use for a specific reason. So maybe like tonight, we're gonna grab data from Spacex. Okay, so we're gonna read that in a second, but maybe we wanna grab data about COVID. Maybe we wanna understand what's going on with COVID and what the numbers are and where the trends are going. And maybe we wanna grab some data, and we did this before from Johns Hopkins, but we don't need all that data. And our goal is to do something very specific with it, and we don't need all the data that's coming from it. And maybe we wanna cross-reference that data with data from somewhere else. Maybe we're also grabbing data from another source. You can grab data from multiple sources, and maybe we want to grab that and pull information from each and put it together and tear it up and process it and clean the data in a way that makes sense for us to use in our own application. And maybe we want to dump that into our own database. This is where an ETL process would come in. So what are we going to do? Well, first we're going to extract. Okay, so extraction. The extract refers to gathering data from one or many sources. So it's not just one source, it can be many sources. And that data could be a bunch of different things. These are some of the more common ones, but it could be other things as well. A database, you could be grabbing data from a database. From an API, this is an application programming interface. I'm going to tell you more about an API because we're going to be grabbing data from an API today. An API it allows you, it's basically a communication layer between systems that you don't have access to, to be able to get information from it. So let's say I've been gathering data on all of you. I haven't been gathering any data on all of you, but let's say throughout this whole process, I've been gathering data, how many minutes you've watched, all that other kind of stuff on my own systems. And maybe you want that information. Maybe you want to write an application that does something cool with that information. Well, if I'm not giving you, like traditionally, what you would have to do is you would have to understand, you would have to have access to my systems, and you would have to write your program in a way that interfaced directly with my systems and reached out to my systems and had the ability to get that information. That's not really feasible. I can't give you all information. I can't give you all access to my systems. That's generally a bad thing. Everyone who wants to integrate with my system, I can't allow them to do that. And so what I would do is I would build an API. I would build an application programming interface, a translation layer that sits kind of over top of my data and allows you, I give you the information on how to use it, and it allows you to be able to make requests for information from my systems. And you make those requests and my system will process it and give you back the data you want in a format that is more usable to you, okay? Yeah, so we'll dive into APIs a little bit deeper. But again, the goal tonight, I want you to understand APIs, but the goal tonight is not APIs. It's more so just kind of understanding how this process might work. A file store, maybe you have a bunch of files somewhere. That files are data as well. So maybe you have that there. I put documents here because documents are both files as well as databases like CSVs and stuff. They're still kind of database-like, but we can pass documents in as well. This is another form of data, and there are more forms of data, but just want to give you a couple of options so just you can feel a couple of different ways that you might be grabbing data from something. And I want you to be clear, we are only going to use one source of data tonight, at least at the beginning, unless we get super far along. But it could be many sources of data. You could be going to many different places to be able to grab data, okay? Anybody have any questions about the extract portion of the ETL process? Also, Hubs had a great interview with Maloof on Tuesday. Amazing. I love to hear it. Just give me the warm fuzzies. That's amazing. Let him know that we are, we're sending all the positive energy his way. Really hope to hear some good news about that. Let's see. How else are you going to take a CSV or JSON data and turn it into XML for all your enterprise needs? Yes. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know why. I mean, I understand why XML took off. I definitely get it, but 100%, or you can copy and paste in Excel sheets, they're CSVs, but in Excel documents, they're basically CSVs. They're not actually CSVs, but those can be used as data pieces of data as well for the extraction. So 100%. It sounds very exciting. Oh yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun, I hope. Yeah, we're not gonna get into the differences between RESTful APIs and web services, standard web services, and all that. Like, we're not gonna do that right now, but we'll definitely get there. Miss Jordy, first off, welcome. Shout out if you all want to see some great gameplay and have a little fun, watching someone play some dope games, doing some dope coverage on esports and games. Miss Jordy is a dope streamer as well. Let me give you a shout out. Definitely give her a follow. But it's good to see you come through. Hope you're doing well. I definitely typed that in wrong. I struggle sometimes. You probably haven't seen me struggle yet, but everyone else has seen me struggle here. Lurking and listening. What's up, Chaos for the Fly? Good. It's good to have you listening and waiting for what we're gonna do. The ankle tax. Yes, the ankle tax bracket must be paid 100%. What do you mean extract? Like a tarball or zip file? Good question, Sin City. Or like parse the data and put it in a readable format. So, when we say extract in this connotation in an ETL process, we're talking about literally getting the data. We're talking about taking the data and retrieving it from those data stores. That's the extraction. It is retrieving it from those data stores. So it's not even like, it's more like downloading that tarball or that zip file rather than extracting the data that's within it. But that part will be part of it as well. I consider all of that part of it because maybe that data could be tarballs. You could be grabbing tarballs. So retrieving those tarballs from somewhere and getting that data onto the machine so that you can start working with it is the extraction that we're talking about here. So nothing special. It is the retrieval of this data. Okay. And I think it'll make sense when we get in the code, but I think that's really good. Now, when you say like parse the data and put it in a readable format, it's interesting because I've seen a couple of different articles, and I'll share more than one with you that talk about this. there seems to be a difference between when people, so I consider the cleaning of the data, we're talking about cleaning of data and putting it in a readable format and things like that. I consider all that to be part of the transformation process. Personally, I came across a number of articles that agreed with that, but I also came across a bunch that say the extraction piece is where the cleaning happens and where we're getting the data ready to be transformed happens. Doesn't really matter. It's still part of the process. It's still a fairly linear process. You kind of have to take these steps anyway. So yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, happy late Founders Day to all of the women of well, I guess didn't AKs and Deltas just celebrated their Founders Day. So happy late Founders Day to all of you. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Bringing up the culture. I love it. Real world example, downloading print spool files from a mainframe queue and converting it from fixed width to a data frame import into database. I mean, yes, that is a real world example. If you don't know what any of those words are, if you don't know what a mainframe is, and you don't understand what fixed width and data frame import, all that stuff, then hopefully our dumb example, we have a kind of dumb example tonight, but I think it's gonna be pretty fun. What's up, Manuk? How are you doing? So extraction, again, pulling from this data, and then this data being ingested from the source. So you're taking the data from the source, and it's, like I said, it's likely not to be in the format that you want it to be in. It's probably not in a usable way for your systems to work with, or whatever you want to do with it. It's probably not in the right format. This takes us to the next step in the process. Oh, you did, yeah, correct. You did not miss much at all. All right, so transform. This is the hard part. This is where the automation and the coding really comes in. The extract is usually pretty simple. It can be a big process because there may be a lot of data. There also might be a lot of different data sources. So yes, it can be big in that part, but generally the retrieval of data isn't that hard. Generally, we know how to download stuff. We know how to grab what we need. Okay, and again, it might take a long time, but generally, like the codifying, like putting that in the code, usually isn't that hard. But the transform is where the magic happens. Okay, this is the hard part. This is the big chunk in the middle, especially because this is where I put cleansing of the data and things like that. So the transform step of the process, this is where the magic happens. We will process the data that has been extracted to prepare it to be ready to be loaded into our destination data store. And so what might happen during this part? So some of the things that might happen during this part is cleansing of data. You might be saying, well, what does that mean? What does cleaning data mean? Cleaning data means ensuring that that the data that is going to be going into your new system is legal per se, that it follows the rules that you care about. Getting it into standardizing into a standard format, maybe could be cleansing data, pulling out things with errant characters and things like that. So going through the data and making sure it's good to go, that everything is going to be legal when you put it into your new system, when you put it into the destination. A lot can happen during that process. And the amount of cleansing that you might need heavily depends on the data that you're getting, as well as the rules for wherever you're putting the data. So this can be very, very different. We're not gonna start off doing any cleansing of any data, okay? We're not gonna start off doing any cleaning any data because we're just not gonna start off cleaning any data. That's gonna introduce a number of extra things that might take us to too much time. If we have time, we'll have to fake a scenario, but we can do some cleaning of the data and kind of figuring that out. This might be data verification as well. That's something else that you might do to again, one is kind of making sure the data is legal and following the syntactical things that you need, having the right amount of spaces or something like that, or who knows, it could be anything, uppercase, lowercase, characters that aren't allowed, making sure those aren't there. Data verification is verifying that the data is what you want. Maybe you want to confirm, maybe you're taking in credit cards or something, maybe you're taking in phone numbers, and you might be verifying that each item before you push it into your new system, maybe the data has to be 10 digits because it's a telephone number. And so maybe you need to go through and verify that everything that's about to go in here is good to go before we have any issues during the upload. And so we might want to write some functions or something to go through and take care of something like that. Maybe we want to filter for things. Maybe we don't care about all the data, and maybe we need to do some filtering. Maybe we need to split up some data, or we need to split up some information and merge it in. Maybe our data source, maybe it's giving us people's names. Maybe I'm getting a list of all of your names. Well, maybe all of it's coming from one data source with your first name and last name together. Maybe it's your first name space last name in a field called name. Okay, so it's one long string. It's just first name, last name with a space in the middle. And maybe in the new system, first name and last name are in two completely different places. They're saved two completely different ways. And so maybe I need to split that up. Maybe I need to make, separate that out and make that good. And maybe I'm grabbing some other information from a different data source. And maybe I need to merge that in with the original data source. So maybe I want to grab your Twitch ID or something, and I want to have a first name and last name, and maybe with your last name, maybe I want to append your Twitch ID or something to it or something. I don't know why I would want to do that, but maybe I want to join that data together and get it all ready to go to be uploaded to our destination. And that's the transform piece. Again, this is where the business logic goes. This is where the logic of everything goes. And this is usually a gigantic step. It's also worth noting, ETL processes may have smaller ETL processes inside of them to support the larger ETL process. Maybe the first step is for you to take the data and to do an initial cleaning of this data. Maybe it does some very basic things, and then it shoves it into another data store to wait to be ready for another process to happen. And that is the ETL process in itself. But maybe it supports a bigger one where now, 2 hours later, a new process begins and it takes it from this new data store, which is in a better format, and does a bigger processing job and puts it somewhere else to wait for something else. And there might be some intermediary steps in there, but yes, it's pretty simple. Get the data, manipulate it, pass it forth. It's interesting because what I was telling you before is that coding really is taking in inputs, processing the input, and giving output. And the ETL process is basically, it's a function. It's like a function. You take in stuff, you make some stuff happen, and you spit something out basically. And that's what we have here. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh yeah. See, this is great. First off, these are one of the things that sometimes you don't think about. This highlights this highlights a lot of cultural differences. So I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, which is it's all black county. It's the most affluent black county in the United States of America. And so things like this, like when someone brought up Founders Day, I knew exactly what that was. Many of you may not have known what that was. We're talking about the nation's black fraternities, the Divine Nine. I'm not fraternities and sororities, sorry, but they just had two of them just had their Founders Days. I actually think the Bros just had theirs as well, but I don't remember. I'm not all the way in on it, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. Thank you for sharing that information, because I always forget that context is key. I might throw something out there and people don't know what that is. If you want the Notion page, !project will get it. And Discord will be !Discord. If you do !Discord, it'll give you the link to that. Okay, so that's transform. And the last piece is loading. The loading part also is, the loading part may be easy. It's often time consuming, but loading the data is the last step of the process. This is where after we transform that data, we got to put it somewhere. Let's put it in its final resting place. Generally, this is something like a database, or maybe you created some files and maybe it's going to go to a file store. Maybe you're going to create some CSV, some documents out of these. Many different things. There are many different things. Maybe you'll post it to another API, which will likely put it in a database. But either way, there's a final resting place for this data to be saved somewhere in the format that we just did all of our work to transform it to. So yeah, that is what it is. What's up, Dorian? How are you doing today? But that's what those are 3 steps. Again, at face value, this is not understanding what an ETL process is not very hard. Now, the steps that are inside of it can be pretty difficult to remember. And again, it does get more complicated than this. I just wanted to share at face value what it is. People will give you lots of information about the transform phase and what things you should hit and what things you should make sure happen. But at the end of the day, this is all that's happening. It's really nothing more than this. So here is our scenario. We finally made it to the scenario of the night and what we're going to be doing. Perfect. We have an hour and a half to do it. I think we'll have no problem getting it done in an hour and a half. And again, every time I say it, 2 years has shown me that we're going to have a problem, but we're going to have a little fun. Again, I didn't pre-do this at all. So I want you all to throw out ideas when we're building stuff. If you're like, hey, do this a different way, I haven't even written a substantial Python application, I feel like, in a while. Whatever, we're gonna have some fun. But scenario, you are the newest member of a tabloid media company who specializes in news involving space and extraterrestrials, okay? You just started there. Tabloid media is the place to be right now. This company is called Three Toes and a Spike. I got this from one of my good friends. Aliens might have 3 toes and a spike, okay? So good name for our tabloid that's about aliens and space. That's what it's called. And they have enlisted your help in creating a way for them to gather data from SpaceX launches to provide to their readers, okay? They want this data because they want to start providing some of this information to their readers. Tabloids, there's some good stuff in here. There's also some bad stuff. So yes, they're using it because it's about space, but they're also being a little shady, and we'll talk about that as well. SpaceX makes their launch data public, so you can get information about that. And they want us to be able to pull specific data and make it usable for their systems to help their analysts help write stories for the tabloid. So they're gonna be right, they got some conspiracy theories over there because it's a tabloid. So the SpaceX data has some cool things in it. It's got things like, when the launch happened, whether or not it worked. There's a lot of data in there. It's also got things about information about what the ships were carrying and things like that. So, they're using it, one, to provide information to the readers. They want to always have up-to-date information to the readers of the tabloid and to be able to develop articles for good information, but also to help support some of the crazy theories and things that they have as well. So that is what we are doing today. So what are the requirements? The requirements are fairly simple. One, we need to be able to gather data, extract data from the SpaceX API. So we can get our launch data from the API, and I gave us a link here. We're gonna talk about APIs in a second. All right. We only need the following data. We'll see what data is included, but we only need the following data. We need the mission name. We need the mission patch image because we want to have an image to go along with it, and we don't want to have to go figure out where to go with that. We want to know what year the launch happened. We want to know if it was successful or not. And if it was a failure, if the launch failed, we want to know why. We want to know the failure details if it was unsuccessful, and we want to know what the payload was, okay? The last thing I have here, and we'll figure out this at the end, the last thing I have is we want to load the data into a CSV file for exporting into another system. We might do it as JSON. I didn't set up any type of server or database or anything that we could accept this into, but maybe we'll do both. We'll get to the end. CSV also would be the easiest one for you all to do right now without having to dive into the intricacies of something else and setting up a data store for you to actually send it to. We can create a CSV file right on our computer, and that would complete kind of the entire flow for us. So maybe we'll do that. We'll figure it out when we get to the end. We'll make some game time decisions on what we want to do here. All right, so here we go. Let's have a good time. Let's take a look at this SpaceX data and click the link and gross. We got a lot of stuff here. Is this considered web scraping or not? This is with the API. Yeah, this is generally not considered web scraping. That's really interesting, actually. That's pretty interesting. It's not considered web scraping, because we're actually going to be interacting and pulling this API data, but it is it's very similar. It is the concept of it is very similar, to be honest. So good question. But this is what you call JSON, and so I get this little thing here. I'm gonna highlight this anyway. Oh, it did work. Okay, I actually didn't want it to do that. Let me go back really quick before we do this, so you can see it in all of its non-glory. But this is gross. It's disgusting. I hate it. But JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. JavaScript is the language of the web. Object notation. So objects are this thing in programming, object-oriented programming languages. JavaScript objects are a way for you to create a structure for some data about a specific thing. So JSON, JSON, that's what it is. It's not JASON, it's JSON. Again, write it down. If you've never heard of it before, write it down. You'll see it a lot. It allows you to structure data about a thing, okay? And this is JSON, and it looks crazy, but it's actually quite simple. All JSON is a bunch of keys and values, all right? Yesterday, if you were part of Decoded, we talked about dictionaries and we talked about maps. These are keys and values. So a key is something like name. Maybe name is the key, and then the value will be Aaron. My name will be Aaron. And age might be a key. The value of that might be 30. So keys and values. That's all it is. Need a browser extension to make it easier to read. Yes, SimCity. So it's hard to read at first. JSON is not supposed to be, it's not really for you. It's not really for you to read as a person, as an individual, as a human. It's not really meant for your consumption, but it is consumable. It is something you can look at and completely understand. I know it looks crazy right now. Jason Derulo. That's really funny. We make Jason jokes all the time, and I've never heard Jason Derulo. That's my first time hearing that one. But it's more so for machine to machine. Exactly, Dorian. It's more so for machines. But, you know, we can format it. So there are plugins that will, in the browser, that will make it more readable. And I'll show you a better way to do it as well. Yeah, Firefox, it looks really good in Firefox, I think by default. But now this helps you see it a little bit better. This helps you to see that there's a key, which is flight number, and that flight number is 1. The value is 1. And then there's a comma separating it, mission name, Falcon Sat, okay? Comma, mission ID. Now, there are these curly braces and other stuff, but these are objects. So this is actually one thing. This one flight right here, this one launch, goes all the way down to, let's keep going, all the way down to here. So line 125 all the way up to, what line to start on? 5. So 100 lines. It's 100 lines in the browser. Is one object. This is one object here. This is one thing, okay? And it's got a ton of information here, as you can see. And that's great. You can say, cool, you know, I can find out all kinds of information about this launch. Let's actually go look at the API first. Let's actually Google Spacex API. I'm glad I had a bunch of more stuff on here. I'm so glad I took off a bunch of that stuff because I do want to be able to dive into some of this stuff so that you can mentally have it on your mind. Remember I said that this API layer, this API was a translation layer for you to be able to grab some data from someone else's system. So SpaceX has all this data in their systems, but you don't know how to access those systems. You don't have the credentials to get to them. You're not even networked in a way that you can reach those systems. This API layer sits on top, and this API documentation, API usually comes with documentation. It tells us what we can get and how we can get it. I'll share this with you. Should be Falcon Punch. It should. There might be one in there called Falcon Punch. We'll see. Excuse me. So this is it's documentation from Postman, and it allows us to see. It's not easy to read. When you first dive into it, it's not easy to read, but it does explain to you how to use this thing. All right. The way that you interact with these APIs is through web requests. Okay, so this isn't some fancy other thing. You are making web requests. You're making requests over the internet. That is how you're doing it, the same way that you would request a web page. And I'm gonna show you this a little bit better, but it's showing you how to do this stuff. Don't worry about this right now. I just want to show you that there's something called API documentation that tells you how to use someone's API, and you can refer to it to understand what you can do. We are gonna be using launch data, okay? That's why I provided you a specific link. But we're going to be using specifically information that we can get from this launches endpoints. These APIs have different endpoints that you can hit to get different information, and it's pretty cool. And yeah, so our all web-based APIs known as REST APIs? No, not at all. REST is a style of it's a way of designing your API. It's not a technology. It's a methodology built into the way that you built your API. I would actually argue that most APIs are not even REST APIs. They think they're REST APIs, but they're not actually REST APIs. REST APIs have to do with the state of the data and what is changing and what's not. It's representational state transfer. We're not gonna dive into that. I think that'll make it a little bit confusing right now. But yes, there's also SOAP. And so there are APIs that are what are called web services, and I would say most APIs probably fall under a web service, and it has to do with the way that data is transferred. But yeah, good. It's a good question. That's great. Thanks for spending all the time with us. 100%. Luke or Luck. Luke, I'm gonna go with that. Absolutely, yes. SOAP. I agree. You know, I'm not a big SOAP fan, but you know, SOAP had its place. SOAP still has its place. You know, but there are other options nowadays. I'm not gonna say there are better things because it all depends on your situation. There are other things. GraphQL, I do like GraphQL. A little more complicated, but you know, I am a fan of GraphQL. I'm learning how to use it a little bit better. So if you want to go to this page, you can, and I can show you some references as we start to do stuff. Now let's get into a little bit of Python. So actually, let me show you the way that this works. So Postman is a cool tool that you can use to make and develop APIs and like learn how to make requests and to debug APIs and stuff. But again, we're just making web requests, okay? So that link I sent you, that link that's in the Notion page, you click on it, you are hitting an API. And if you look at the URL, it says api.spacex.com/v3. That's the version of the API. APIs usually will give you, they're usually versioned, and different versions give you different functionality, and they have different endpoints. Launches is an endpoint here. But we can also, so systems can also make these calls as well. All right. And so let's break this down a little bit before we kind of get into it. That JSON data can be used to pinpoint information because there's keys and there's values. It can be used to pinpoint information and extract the things you want. First, I'm gonna on the command line. You can also curl this data. So if you want to see this data, if you can't find the plugin necessary to make it look better, and you want to grab something from the command line, I'm just showing you some of this stuff as people who are going to be doing things from the command line pretty often, and we are going to grab some data. So I'm going to do a curl. Curl is how you make a web request from the command line. And we're going to do a curl and we're going to paste in that data. And so it's going to give us a bunch of stuff. It's going to give us too much stuff, and it's going to be in a format that we hate. All right. I want you all to know about a tool, a command line tool. I don't think I have it installed. Let's see. I do not. I'm going to do sudo apt install JQ. If you're on a Mac, try brew install JQ. You don't need this tool. I'm just giving you, these are the extra tidbits that I'm giving you along the way that you don't really need, the optional pieces. JQ is a really cool tool to allow you to work with JSON via there's JQ implementations for a lot of things, but it makes it presentable. From the command line, there are packages for pretty much every kind of runtime. So I'm pretty sure there's one for Python, Go, there's one for a bunch of stuff. But what I can do is all that data that we just saw, all this disgusting data, if I want to see it in a good way, I'm gonna clear that out. All I have to do is I have to pipe this. So I do a little pipe here and I type in JQ. And now it gives it to me in a much more readable format. Now it is a pretty fire. It does make it pretty, but it also gives you a lot of functionality for extracting data. We don't need to do that right now. Just wanted to give you a good way to work with JSON from the command line, because JSON is, I'm telling you, once JSON clicks for you, once you understand how to work with it, man, it really is, it's phenomenal. I really do. It's a great format. It's super useful, and it really helps for automation. JSON's really good. Again, it's a bunch of keys and values, and the keys are blue and the values are green or white, depending on their data type. So it's nice. The command that I used is I did a curl, then the URL. So I did a curl to get the data, and then I did a pipe, and then I did JQ. All right. Yeah, JQ, it's really cool. It is. So it's really funny because I have been working with JSON for years before someone told me about JQ. I had like been doing all kinds of stuff with web services and stuff for years before anyone told me how to do this. And the command line is somewhere where I live and where I don't really use Postman. If I'm developing, doing development on an API or creating something or doing some debugging, I use curl. I pretty much use curl for everything because that's what I'm used to. And being able to do this from the command line just helped out so much. I didn't pass in any parameters with curl because by default, curl does. So that's a great question. Let me give you some insight for those of you who know what's going on here. By default, curl, just like a browser, it does a GET request. So it makes a GET request. So when you all are getting information from google.com, when you all are typing that into your browser, it is doing exactly what we just did. It is making something called a GET request, and it's requesting data from a service. There are other verbs that you can use. There are different CRUD verbs to do certain things. You can post data to some endpoints, which would allow you to create some data. I think we talked about this a little bit. And so you can update data, you can delete data, you can do different kind of things to these endpoints over the web. And this is making a GET request by default. luckily, the API that is used by SpaceX is completely open and available, which most likely means that this is cache data and not direct information, because there's no API key that we had to pass in. A lot of times you may not want anyone to be able to access this data, but you want to let certain people access it, and you would create some credentials or something to allow people to do that. This doesn't have that, which means it's probably raw, like static data, and it's updated periodically so that we don't put too much load on their systems. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So just wanted to throw that out there. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to open up VS Code, and we are going to create our file and get started immediately. VS Code, so weird to me. Like I'm gonna let y'all know I'm working hard here to use VS Code and not Vim for you all. I think it's important though. I think it's really important, because I can't tell you how many messages I get on the side like, oh, what was that command you entered at this point in the video, and all this other stuff. Yeah, I get it. I am a Vim lover, but VS Code is a little more, if you are using Vim, you're probably going to be able to follow along fine with me if I'm using VS Code. But if I'm using Vim and you are using VS Code, you may not be familiar with what I'm doing, and it might be harder to follow along. So we will continue with this. And so I'm not that hardcore. It's something that I use Vim because I've been a systems guy for a long time. And so I've always known how to use it to do a lot of basic things, but I've been spending time over the past year and a half, like really getting my Vim skills up and using it more and more. And so I got to a point where I was using it full time for everything, for all of my development. And I've, since backed off a little bit to make it easier. Yeah, I am using the extension, or I was using the extension. Interesting. No, it should be enabled. I think it's enabled. Yeah, it's already enabled. I am using the extension here, so it works well. So I'm keeping some muscle memory down using that, but yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and make some space here for this. We're gonna create a new folder, and we are gonna get going with this. So pipelines, crash course. So we're gonna make a new directory here. I'm going to make a directory, and we're gonna call this ETL. We'll just call it ETL. Easy to name it. You can create it over here if you'd like, with a little add folder button. Feel free to do this however you want. And also, man, I hate when it does this. So everyone new to this channel, I am not developing locally. I develop remotely from a Linode VPS for a couple different reasons. It's not necessarily because I'm on Windows. It's mostly because I operate on a couple different computers. In a given day, I work off of 3 different computers. So that's what you just saw me do. It's my VS Code is set up to SSH tunnel into a Linode VPS, and that's where I do my development from. What did you do to get your Vim skills up? Skills up in Vim? If you want my real answer, so we've rated him a couple times here. There's a guy on the channel, and let me shout him out really quick so you can follow him. The Prime, I spell it wrong every time. No, that's not right. That's not right. And I didn't do a shout out. It's Prime Agan. There we go. There it is. So that guy, the Primeagen, I think. He does some cool stuff he does some cool stuff here on Twitch. He's the Vim expert, but he has a YouTube series about Vim. It is phenomenal. And I think he just started a new one for this year. It is amazing. I'm so serious. It's so good. So I highly recommend clicking his channel to get his YouTube. I don't know what his YouTube channel is. If someone can find it, feel free to share it here. But he has amazing Vim tutorials. I've never seen anyone better with Vim, even though there are people who work on NeoVim who stream here on Twitch and stuff as well. But yeah, it's pretty dope. It's pretty good info. And so it's been helping me. And I'm also learning how to type better. Actually, before we do this, yes, let's talk about the typing better thing. So another reason why I started using Vim is because I'm a terrible touch typist. I'm an okay typist if I'm looking at the keyboard, but I wanted to get better at touch typing. And so I started building my own keyboards. I just got my Novel Keys creams already lubed for me. They're already lubed. Novel Keys creams. Look at this. I also got in my brand new case for my new build. So we got a black plate here. Okay, all right, super excited about that. But look at this beauty. I don't have any keycaps yet. Look at, ooh, the purple tofu just looks so good. 60% keyboard, purple tofu. Just, it's nice and cool. And look, it matches the room. Amazing. And so this will be my second build. I've never done linear switches before. Hold on. I dropped something and I didn't want to lose it. But I've never done linear switches before, but that is what I'm doing. Am I gonna do a keyboard build stream? Maybe, I might. I never thought about doing it, but I might. I'm a terrible keyboard builder. But right now, this is another build that I did. So the builds are almost identical, and the style of pieces minus the switches, same thing, tofu case. But this is gonna go to my office. This is my company colors kinda, and this is gonna go to my office, and the other one's gonna stay here. These switches are the Zelios V2s, tactile switches, 67 grams, really good. I really like these. And then again, the new keyboard is the Novel Keys Creams. I'm pretty excited about it. They're a little hard to get, but I got them for a great price. They are used, so hopefully they work. But yeah, it should be pretty cool. All right, what made you choose 60? Great question. I purely chose 60 to get better at typing because I knew I would have to learn more key bindings and stuff. I really wanted to dive all in. Like I really wanted to commit to being a better typist, and I'm definitely a better typist. I focused on it for a while. I stopped focusing on it for a little bit, so I need to get. I've just got back to trying to get better at it, and so purely to like make me uncomfortable. I got 60% to make me uncomfortable. Let me be clear. I would have never stayed at 60% if I did not accidentally build a keyboard with this layout. So take a look here. This is a non-standard layout. This is called like a Sangan layout or something. I did it on accident. It's basically an HKKB layout. The delete key is right here, where it's usually 2 above the enter key. It's usually up here. It is right above it, which is helpful. And the modifier key is here. So these are my arrows. I use arrows, okay? So I hold the modifier key and I hit these for my arrows. Without that, I would not be able to do it. I have another keyboard that's not the case, and I cannot use it. 60% means it is 60% of a full keyboard. So notice, I do not have any function keys. I have no function keys. I have no number keys. I have no arrow keys. So I have 60% basically of the space that's of a normal keyboard. So yeah, so it's a little tougher to use. So I have to press extra keys to get to some things. Like for me to hit like a tilde, and tildes are pretty important. For me to hit tilde, I have to hold this key, hit shift, and escape at the same time just to get tilde. But yeah, you know, I wanted to learn, and it's working for me. It really is working for me. All right, yeah, a standard keyboard would be 100% keyboard, correct. All right, cool keyboard lessons. I'm glad we went off on the tangent. Again, something I'm passionate about. I just might do a keyboard build stream. The only problem is I'm lazy and I don't have the time to solder. So I did not get a board that I have to solder. I got a hot swappable board. So, you know, it's good. It might be nice. It might be a nice chill thing. So maybe I will. All right, so let's do this. Let's get started. As soon as I get some keycaps. All right. ETL, let's start a file. Now, we're not gonna get super fancy. We don't need to create any packages or anything like that. Let's keep it chill, and let's just simply create one file. So create the file wherever you want. You don't need to create a folder or anything like that. Create a simple file, and let's get started. We can call ours, let's call it space.py. Let's call it spacex.py. How about that? All right, excellent. Now we have a file called spacex.py, and we are ready to go. So all we're gonna do first is let's put in a couple of comments. Let's put, this is where we will extract. Okay, and then let's make some space and put, this is where we will transform, and this is where we'll load. And now it won't always be this straightforward. This is gonna be fairly straightforward, but it won't always be this straightforward. Okay, there we go. You know, very, very exciting. This is where we'll extract, this is where we'll transform, and this is where we'll load. Now that we have this, you gotta say, you know, okay, what in the world do we do? So let's think about it. The very first thing on that list is we need to go through and we need to be able to get this data. We need to be able to make a web request for this data and to get this information ready to go. And so how would you do that? If you have no idea how to do this, what would you do? You would simply Google something like this: how to make web requests in Python. There we go. So I'm going to give you a little help and simply tell you that we're going to use a package. There's an extra package that we can use called request. Also, CM, how you doing, Mr. Griffin? It's good to see you. First off, shout out to CM Griffin, the most dedicated streamer on the planet. To be honest, he had a ridiculous number of hours streamed last year. It was absurd. And every time I go to a stream now, like when I get there, he's already been streaming for 7 hours. It's out of control. Give him a follow. Again, we're learning how to code. If you want to understand how to code better, if you want to, one of the best ways is to dive in and watch people build projects and to do it along with them and do your best to kind of catch up and figure out what's going on. It is surprisingly effective, a surprisingly effective way to get better and to learn. So definitely want to make sure I give you a shout out for that. Cool. Unknown Twitch channel action. Oh, okay. That's the mission. Okay, cool. I think I typed it right. I do my best. So we're gonna use a package called requests, and instead of even clicking on all this, let's see. You might end up on Pluralsight's website. I'm sure they're gonna tell us to use requests. So I'm not gonna go through this process. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get requests set up because I don't think I have requests set up on my machine. Now, if you don't already have it, tonight we're going to be using some external Python packages. We're going to be using packages that don't exist as a part of Python's standard setup, and we need to be able to grab those. Different languages have different tools to be able to grab these packages. The tool that we're going to use, the tool that Python uses, is something called pip. Pip is what we're going to use. What's up, Ethereal Dratini? I love it. Cool words mixed with Pokemon. I love it. Welcome. What's up, Will Roth as well? I missed that one. Destroyer. Gandar, how are you doing? Luke, how are you doing? Abuel Wafa, good to have you as well. And Absgasm, love it. Pray for Devin. I'll pray for you, Devin. Not a problem. And Gory, I got it. There we go. The SO stands for shout out. And so it gives a shout out. The little bot after I typed it in gave that person a shout out. So it's a little bit of automation. How do I verify if I have requests already? So it's a good question. The two ways I would verify will be try to open up a file and use it, or to just try to install it again, and it will only install it if you don't have it. And so we need to use pip to do that. Now, I don't know how to install pip on a Mac at all. If you install Python on Windows, I think it comes with pip. If you are on Linux, I don't have pip right now. I don't have pip or pip3. So from the command line, try typing pip or pip3. If you don't have it, then you need to get it installed. So I'll show you how to install it on, what am I on? I actually have no idea what am I on? I'm on Ubuntu. So I will show you how to get it installed on Ubuntu, and I can give you a little bit of information about, I can give you a link to see how to install it on your individual system. But all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an apt install. I think it's pip3-python on Ubuntu. I'm not 100% sure. Let's go with this. I think this is it. Let's go with, actually, hold on. Let me do an update. So do an apt update first to make sure I get all the packages and make sure that my package manager knows exactly what to do. We learned this. Python-pip3. Okay. Yeah, let's try that out. Thank you. Python pip must have come with Python brew install on Mac. Yeah, I actually do think it comes with the brew install on Mac. And I also think it comes with the install on Windows as well. But it does not come with the Python 3 install on Linux. This is also another reason why I do a remote networks, or another reason why I do remote development. So we already have seen the issues with my internet connection, and being able to download stuff not locally on my network is something that we have. Oh, Z300Z. Yeah, I have a pretty substantial system now. But it's interesting because the thing that I'm coding on though is a lot weaker, but my system itself is much it's overkill for sure, but you know, well, sometimes we gotta have a little fun. But I am doing a lot of content creation that you all will eventually see the fruits and labor of for sure. Let's see. Let's install, was it, you said Python-pip3 is probably it. I could have looked it up, but your boy's just trying to go off of memory here. No, maybe it is. Maybe it's, let's try pip3 Python again after doing that. Okay, let's just look up, you know, this is, look, I'm not even gonna look up, so an RTX 3090 owner, you know, hey, I'm sorry to flex on you, but I'm not only the owner of one, I'm not, oh, Python 3-pip. That makes, thank you all for doing the hard work for me. I'm not only the owner of one 3090. 3090 Founders Edition is in this computer right now. I've got two of them. Okay, I've got a Strix model, but I'm selling the Strix model. I'm selling it for cost. Eventually, I'm holding on to it for a bit because I might need it. But we will see. But I'm probably selling it for cost. I got it for someone else who claimed they needed it, and they ended up not wanting it, and you know, it's just sitting around. So if anyone really does want it, you can have it for however much it costs. I'm not charging anything. I don't really care about that at all. But if you want it, shoot me. Seriously, Z300Z. I mean, yeah, Z300Z. You said you wanted it first. You're the first person who said I want it. Send it off, raffle it. Nah, I don't. You know, I don't like taking. I really don't like taking advantage of people. It's so frustrating. And the only reason I was able to get it is because I don't have to go to a day job right now. And so the micro center near us had gone a couple times really early in the morning just to check for things. Cause I wanted a processor. I really wanted a processor, and I never got what I wanted for processing wise. But I was able to catch them on a couple of days. Do a random, let's fight for it. I like it. Maybe, okay. Let's see. I want a 5950 really bad. Really bad. Doing a draw seems fair. It does seem fair. If people are serious, I'll definitely do a draw. But yeah, we'll code for it. I like this. Okay, you guys got me thinking. Let's see. But it's definitely overkill. Let me also be clear. The 3090, one thing I didn't consider is it puts out substantial heat. It's out of control actually. And it's part of the reason why I'm not using the Strix and I'm staying with the Founders Edition is because of the amount of heat that it puts out. It's pretty crazy. It's out of control for sure. What are you gonna downgrade to or use as a replacement? Well, no. So I have two of them. I'm keeping this 3090 in this case. It also just looks better in this, like this one does. But yes, it does double as a radiator. It can keep a room warm. It really does, and it does need a good amount of power as well. So just something I didn't think about that you all should think about when yes, 100%. I fully understand that it is first world problems. Yeah, I 100%, 200%. But in addition to it being first world problems, I'm telling you, the people who I was going to the store with, who are also trying to get these cars and were able to get these things, also engineers, people in tech. So learning this stuff is what paid for these 3090s. Okay, so just stay on the path. Okay, and when the 4090s drop and the 4090 Ti's drop, you'll be able to get the very first ones. All right, can you see KFC? Yeah, look, I'm telling you, you can. It when I had it in a different case, it would shut down my computer pretty often. I couldn't figure out what was happening. I thought I had ample cooling, and it was actually not the GPU that was the problem. The GPU cooler is so good that it puts out so much heat in the case, and even my AIO cooler or my CPU could not keep up, and it would shut my computer down. It took me forever to figure out what was happening. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy. 2 months, no GPU. Oh, it sucks. It sucks. And it also sucks for all of you. I live 20 minutes away from one micro center, and I live an hour and 15 away from 2 other micro centers. And so I am, again, nothing but fortunate in what I'm able to do, because you can't get them online. It's impossible to get them online for sure. All right, here we go. Let's get going. 806, we're still good. So let's extract the data. We need to use this request package. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install it with pip, okay? There are other ways to do this. We can actually create a file for this, but it's okay. No, Micro Center's not in the Midwest. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and there are 2 in Maryland, 1 in Virginia. So they're up and down the coast, and a couple in the Midwest. Well, 1 or 2 in Texas. But yeah, so I'm gonna do pip 3, install requests. Okay. And now requests is an external package. We don't need to really know about all this stuff. So, okay, it's already satisfied, which is weird because I didn't even have pip installed. Really interesting, but it's okay. It's here and it's available. All right. Now, what we're gonna do is we are gonna have to use this. We're gonna pull this into our application. This is something we haven't talked about in programming yet, or that we didn't have time to talk about on Monday because we didn't really need it. But we're gonna need to bring this package into our code base so that we can use it. So the way that we do that is through the keyword import. All right, so what I want you to type in is import requests. All right. And what this does, let me actually make sure I have all the Python stuff set up just so in case I need to reference anything. Okay, we're good. Cool. And what this will allow you to do now is use all the different tools requests has. So requests, we talked about functions. It's kind of a big class, and it has a bunch of those functions. Remember, functions are pieces of code that only run when called. It has a bunch of those, and we can call those functions to do special stuff. So it's got a bunch of pre-written stuff for us to use, and those things allow us to make web requests from the from our code. And so what we're gonna do now to make that is we're gonna make this request right here. We'll make it right here underneath this part, and let's figure out what to do. Let's write a function to do this. We're basically gonna write this in a bunch of different little functions to make this happen. So the first thing we're gonna do is start a new function. Def is the keyword to start a new function. Oh, I don't like that at all. Okay, it's start a new function, and let's give it a name. Naming things in coding is hard, but it's okay. We can call it whatever we want. Let's be descriptive. And this is where we'll extract. So we're gonna get, what kind of data are we getting? We're getting SpaceX data. So we're gonna say we're getting launch data. So we're gonna say def get launch. Oh, actually we're doing Python, and Python like snake case. So we're gonna do get launch data. This is gonna be the name of our function. Okay, get launch data is what we're gonna call it, and we're gonna make a function that does this. All right. Now, because we don't actually need to do a function to do this. We can actually get the information by just using the request library, okay? But we're gonna write the code in here to do it so that we can call it. The way that you would get it, that you would get this information is to do something, is to call the request package by name and use dot notation to call one of those methods. Remember, we talked about the word method, and was it dot get? So it has a bunch of those verbs. It has those HTTP verbs here. So we could do .post, we could do delete, all that stuff. But what we want to do is we want to do a get. Got around what a B-Day was yesterday. Congrats, happy birthday, first off. That's amazing. Cool. Well, absolutely, man. Dope. Have a good day. I know you gotta go. Thanks for coming through, spending some time. Dope. 2 ATL Metro. Price of 3080. Oh, so I had a 3080 for a little while. The 3080 is the way to. So first off, the 3060 is the way to go. The 3060 Ti is the way to go. If you're doing 1080p, if you're 1080p gaming, 3060 Ti is all you need. It's all you should get. They're actually kind of plentiful. Like every time Micro Center gets a stock, they have like 3 times as many 3060 Ti's as anything else. That is what I would go with. If you can get it, the 3080 is phenomenal. And I would argue that it is better for gaming than 3090 because of the cooling and power requirements for 3090. I actually get worse frame rates because I couldn't cool the stuff successfully. I couldn't cool my CPU successfully, so it was dropping my frames. Also, if you have a decent graphics card, right now, if you have a 20 series card, I say hold off. They are great. I say hold off. Get the CPU. Going from a 3950X, which is the top tier 3000 series, to a 5900, increase my frames in most games by about 20%. Pretty crazy. So just, there we go. How can I get helper code in VS Code? So the way that you can get helper code in VS Code is to go to the left, click this little extensions panel, and if you type in Python, click on the first one. It's made by Microsoft. It's an extension made by Microsoft. It will help. Yep, 5800, perfectly fine as well. Perfectly fine. Yes, it is rising. Things with that, something new always come around the corner. It's true. It is something always new is there. All right, so this is basically the function that will get the information, and we can see it right here. It pops up some information and it says, hey, URL for new class request object. Again, a little bit confusing if you've never seen it, but it's good to go. What's that? Garudis, welcome to the channel. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying those kind words. You're helping make my day. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna get this information, but we need to save it to something so we can make a request. And so it's gonna go out, it's gonna get the data from that URL. We need to save it into something. And what do we talk about? We talk about variables. So we're gonna save this into a variable. You can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it data. I'm gonna call it, and if you want, let's call it launch data. How about that? To make it very descriptive, let's call it launch underscore data. And let's save it to this variable here. And what goes in the parentheses here is the URL. So if we wanted to get information from google.com, we will put google.com in here, but it would be a string, and we put google.com in there. And this would allow us to get information. It would go to google.com, request that information, and save it to launch data. But we don't want that. And this is not very modular. We want this to be pretty modular, okay? So, and there's a function. Functions need to be, are here to be reusable. Realistically, we don't need a function for this because we're like this is only happening once in our code. But again, I'm trying to show you some cool ways of doing stuff. So functions take information. You can pass things in as parameters, okay? So this get launch data, we can call this function, and if we call it with, let's say, the URL, we can pass any URL we want into here to be able to get some data. So maybe we want to hit more than one endpoint later on. This function will allow us to do that. And so instead, remember the URL that gets passed in, this thing that gets passed in is a variable. And so we're going to take that variable and we're going to pass it into right here. And so we'll call launch data. We'll put the URL in parentheses, and then that'll get replaced here and it will request that information. Let's see what that looks like. All I'm going to do is I'm going to print out launch data. So it's going to go get the information. All I'm going to do is I'm going to print that out, okay? Nothing else. I can't import the requests. Did you do, Mysterio, did you do a pip install or pip 3 install requests? To make sure that you have it. You might not have pip 3. Yours might just be pip. Try them both, depending on what version of Python you're using. Same problem here, and you can't import requests. Yeah, maybe like close your VS Code and reopen it. Did you just install the extension? Maybe that's it. That's a good answer, running JC. I just learned how to use VS Code for the first time yesterday, and maybe my first JavaScript. I didn't. so Warzoid, that's okay. That's okay. 100% completely fine. Keep keep going with the flow. Type some stuff in, have a good time. You'll learn, like, through this process, you'll pick up something. You'll pick up something. You may think it's tiny, you may think you didn't pick up anything at all. You will get a little bit, you'll get a little bit out of it. All right, so I'm gonna run this code really quick. All right, tell me what you think is gonna happen before I run it. Whoa. Before I run it, I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna run it in a second. What do you think is gonna happen? Just look at it for a bit. Tell me what just in your mind. Try to figure out what you think is gonna happen with this code. Again, you are brand new to this. I'm not telling you you should know what's gonna happen. I'm just, giving you a chance to take a look and see what you have. See what you can make happen. What's up, Nibla 2020? What are you teaching? Been lurking for like 15 minutes. Great vibes, though. Appreciate that. Appreciate the great vibes. We are learning how to do an ETL process with Python. So that's an extract, transform, and load process in Python. We are doing an 8-week boot camp on DevOps and SRE concepts. So systems, things, and this is something that you might, it's pretty common for you to do as a DevOps engineer or site reliability engineer or someone dealing with infrastructure. So we're learning how to build this in Python. So we're pulling data from SpaceX, from SpaceX's APIs, and we are going to transform that data for our own use and load it into maybe a CSV. URL is undefined. There we go. So that's good. We might get that. Yeah, nothing. Yep, perfect. You all are getting it. Functions only run when they're called. So we created a function. This is valid Python, but nothing's gonna happen. And so let me go into ETL. Nothing's gonna happen because we didn't tell the code to do anything. We didn't pass in a URL. We didn't even tell it to run this function because again, it only runs when it's called. So down here, I'll put a new line. And I'll say, this is where we run the code. Okay, so I'm gonna put that under here to separate it from everything else. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna call this function down here. So I'm gonna call get launch data, and we're gonna paste in the URL that we got from the Notion page. And we'll paste this sucker in. And we'll paste it right here. Make sure you put it in quotes, double or single. Python, remember, it does not matter. This is a string. And so now we are calling launch data. We're calling this function by name, and it takes in one parameter. That parameter is a URL, and we're passing in that URL right here. And it's gonna take that in, and it's gonna make the request, save it to the variable launch data, and then it's gonna print that launch data out. Let's see what launch data looks like now. Okay, check that out. We get response 200. This is actually good. This means we had a successful request. One thing I want you to, we're actually gonna go over this in this course. We're gonna go over this for sure. But take a look at, go Google HTTP response codes, or write it down for now. You don't need to know it now. But when you make a request to a web server, it responds with a status code to let you know what happened with that request. Was it successful? At 200 means good. 200 is what you want. It means, okay, we did good here. You got a successful request. It doesn't mean you got the data that you wanted, but it means the transaction was successful. There are other codes, the 500 series. So maybe you've seen 404 page not found. 400 series are, hey, like we have a client error over here. That something's wrong, but we may not know what it is, but we have a client error over here. 500 series is like, maybe you saw 500 internal server error. That means there was a system error. There was an internal service error on the server side of things. And so, yeah. Oh, no need for a wait. I was expecting pending promise. Understandable. That is, again, for asynchronous programming. Yeah, this is kind of serial programming. This is not really asynchronous, and it's going to get the stuff, and it's not going to keep going. So it's kind of wait. It kind of sits here and waits for the value before it kind of goes through and does everything else. Ken Lob, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you for contributing to the war on advertisements. You no longer have to watch any of those silly ads from Twitch shows. Unskippable, they're like 40-second ads. It's pretty crazy, actually, but yeah, that's what we are doing. Yeah, we don't need to do any of that. Will we go over a little bit of the request doc? Sure. I admittedly never figured out how to navigate it and how to understand the return types. Sure. Yeah, that's probably a great idea, actually. So I haven't looked at the request docs in a long time. So Python requests docs documentation. Let's go here. Let's look at it. I don't know what it looks like, but remember I said everything is an object. Now think about what we said about JSON, where all that stuff in that JSON thing was one object. The way that things work in Python is these things are objects as well. And so when the request goes out and it gets this thing, it's an object. It's actually the request package is working. It has a class, and that class, it has some tools and stuff to it. But this thing comes back and it has a bunch of different pieces to it, but a bunch of different pieces of an object. And so with that, we can extract different pieces of that object. The same way that we grabbed a portion of that JSON, we can grab a portion of the object here. And so right now it gives us back status code by default. So if you go look at the documentation, they give you a couple of examples right up front. We'll get deeper into it, but they say, this is the same thing that we did. It may look different to you, but it's the same thing minus this extra piece because they had to log in. But they did request.get and they saved it to a value. We saved it to space data or something like that, or launch data. They saved it to R. That's fine. Then we can look at the status code. So we could type in r.status code and get back 200. It gives us that by default. That's a standard return that it gives us, but we can start to get different data. So if I want to see just the status code, instead of printing out the whole thing, I'll only print out the status code of this object. All right, and if I run it again, it will give me back just the status code, okay? So there are a bunch of different pieces to this object, and the documentation can tell us what other things are gonna come along with this object. Let's see where the docs have all of that information, response content. Yeah, actually, I want to see if there's a way to see all of it at once. This documentation is very interesting. It's actually really good, but to me, it's actually too descriptive. It's actually there's too much verbiage in between the examples and like, JSON response content, interesting. Okay, we can look at it. We'll look at it in a second, because the things that we'll look at it in a second. There are things that I already know that you can get from the request package because I've used it a number of times. So in the request, so in a web request, there's a lot of information passed. It's not just the data. So information like the status code, there's header information. There is the actual content and the data that's passed along with it. There's other metadata that's passed along with this stuff as well. There's a lot of information that comes back with that. Even in the requests that you make from the browser, the same things are happening. All that information is actually viewable in the browser. If you should go to the, let's say we look at this page and we went to inspect and we looked at the network tab. One, we can see a bunch of different files coming back. We can see the status, we can see what type they are, how long it took, but there's also information in here that we could dig into that has different metadata, has different header information, all that stuff about it. So there's a lot happening. This object has just about all of that information. It has all that stuff that you can extract from this, okay? Yeah, the text will give you context, but I wanna find stuff fast. So I've actually can't remember the last time I've used this either, but let's see, the main interface. Yeah, here we go. I think that's what I want. Request method URL, put patch delete, the params, return, request that response. Let's see. This is the kind of stuff that I like. Request sessions, ooh, fancy. Okay, we'll see if we can parse this a little bit better. Cool. All right, so we got that data back. The data, if we want to actually see the data, there's a couple different ways we can see exactly what it is. Content is one of the different ways, and this is going to, there's a space in the object for content for the actual stuff that comes back. So this is the actual JSON that you see, the same JSON that you see when you request it from a web page. This is where it comes from. I only know this because I've made web requests with Python many times, and most of the data, usually the data you're going to want to work with, especially when requesting things from an API, is this right here. Yeah, let's check response objects. What's response object? Is capital R. Hold on. Let's see. We'll look back at the documentation. It told me right up top, didn't it? Patch, where do we just see this? Response, request.response, returns request.response. So what do you mean when you want to see the entire object? So this is, if you want to see the entire object, I think I have to maybe stringify it, maybe. Still unable to import requests using VS Code on your Mac. Okay, try White Wolf. Try VS Code on your Mac. When you did the pip install, you may have used pip 3 install, and it may have installed the Python 3 version of request, and you may be calling the Python 2 version. Make sure if you use pip 3 to install requests and it did it successfully, use Python 3 as the command to run your code, and it should do it instead of Python when running it. Yeah, that might help. That definitely might help. But how can you check the response object? Everything that we're doing now is checking the entire response object. But how you can see the whole thing, by default, you might have to give it, you might have to change the data type of it, because by default it's going to give you just the response. That whole object is there, but then you can dive into it. So how can a beginner know what a request at response object has and looks like? That is also a good question. Let me see if I can get it to print out the whole thing, and let's Google it, because I don't know. I've never had to look at the entire object like that. So let's see. Python requests, and I would type in something like entire object. Developer interface for it, advanced usage, probably not an advanced usage. Bash delete. Request, constructs and sends a request, and it goes back to the entire thing. But if we, actually, so yeah, it gives us this by default, request head, URL. So that'll give us the head of this. Let's see. What's up, Zapak? How you doing, Zapak? Welcome to the channel. Good to have you. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome, raiders from Zapak channel. Again, you might be, a lot of them are probably looking at advertisements right now, which we don't love. But welcome. Hope you had a great stream. I'd love to know what you were doing on stream. We are building an ETL process with Python really quick. I don't know how to find it, to be honest. How to see the entire thing. It's a good question. That would make it easier to maybe to parse, but I don't know. Good to see some Python representation on Twitch. So it's rare these days. Yes, Python. Yes, 100%. The Python's not my go-to. It used to be. Python used to be my go-to. Python used to be my jam. But it's been a while. Also, what's up, Forest Knight? How you doing? I didn't even see your name there. Welcome again. It's good to have you here. Glad you're here. But yeah, you know, Python representation, sure. We do it here. We do both. It's all JS. It is all JS. Not a JS lover here. We do, you know, I'm a Go fan. I like Python more than I like JS, but they're all work. By default, kinda. Yes, it does. It supports JSON parsing by default. There's also a JSON package which allows you some other functionality as well. But yeah, it does. We're about to hop into that. I don't know. Maybe we can figure that out. Let's keep going. I will. If anyone knows how to get what people are asking for, let me know. I don't know personally. So there are a couple different pieces, and again, I've gotten these from going through documentation in the past. And again, content is one way. We can get like the raw text, all kinds of stuff. People are asking how to see the entire this entire response object. So request is going to return a response object. We can, by default, if you try to take a look at the response object, it only gives you the kind of status code. It gives you the status code by default, but not directly the status code. It gives it to you kind of in a response object, but it doesn't give you everything right up front. And I think people want to see the entire object. I don't know how to see the entire response object from the request package, to be honest. But again, I can see specific things. But yeah, the content is what we want. Maybe we can also. Yeah. Let's go back to content. Let's keep content there and just take a look. Just take a look at what we got here. So we are actually getting, we're actually getting an array. It's actually, so remember we talked about those lists in Python. Remember those brackets? It's actually a list of different stuff. So print get launch data. Oh, okay, that might work. Actually, that might be a good one. Actually print the actual request. So that makes sense. Let's try that out. And let's see, just maybe I should have kept, that's fine. See inside, and let's just do the whole thing. I probably should have just copied it. Request get URL. Let's try that. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, whoops. And we get the exact same thing, which makes sense. We get the exact same thing. Oh yeah, I'm not really sure. If you want the raw response object, you can use .prepare on the request object. So you're saying we can do, I wonder if I can just do .prepare right here. Prepare, do I have to do it separately to that? Use, oh, turn into a string. That makes sense too. Into a different data type, that could work as well. What's happening? I think I broke it. Oh, okay, I did. Stringify it. Close. 1, 2, 3. Let's see that. Same thing? Nope. Didn't work. What's the advantage of using request over Python's own URL lib? So yes, I've seen a couple of articles about using URL lib. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Again, this really has to just do with what I'm familiar with. In what I see people use most often, request is kind of generally the way to do it. Also, we don't actually need any. If there are any benefits to either one, doesn't really matter because all we're doing in our use case tonight is grabbing the stuff. So yeah, Beautiful Soup, you can grab Beautiful Soup, but Beautiful Soup is going to do a better job. Beautiful Soup is better for grabbing the data from the page. We need, for grabbing information from the API and working with that better, this is gonna work out a little bit better. The Beautiful Soup by default is gonna grab everything as HTML rather than grabbing the actual API JSON data. So yeah, work for me. So yeah, so that content, yeah, Ritvik, that content does show you, it shows you the content of the object. It does, I don't think it's showing you the entirety of the object. Maybe it is, maybe I just can't see the whole thing. But yes, we've been using dot content to see that as well. But it's okay, let's keep going. Maybe it is, maybe we need to scroll farther up, but maybe. That text, so that text I think is also gonna give you, response.text could give it, I thought response.text gives you the body in text format, but we can check, we can check, it's fine. Launch data. Let's try text. Makes sense. I thought that's what text did. Maybe it's not. I'm pretty sure this is just giving us, this might be giving us the whole object and I might not be seeing the top of the object. I don't really know. But yeah, it is a good question. What are we looking for? I don't want the full, yeah, that is a very good question. What are we actually looking for? The whole object will include the response header as well. Yeah, the problem is this response is so big, I can't see it. Maybe if we do something smaller, like example.com, I think is a tiny website. Let's try this. Maybe it'll help. Oh, no schema applied. Let's see. How about, yeah, you can save it. That's true. You can definitely do that as well. You can save it to a file if you wanted to. And this was example.com. And at the top, see, even if we're just looking for text is only returning back the HTML from example.com. It's only returning back the body as text. So I don't think that's giving us what we want either. I don't know how to see the entirety of the object. Basically, all the things that you can pull out of the response object, I'm not sure you can, I don't know how to get all of it at once. Yeah, I don't know how to do it. So we are gonna use the content here, maybe, but we actually wanna use JSON. I think we can use JSON. I think we can use it without it. I think we can just convert it like this, maybe. This feels right, but let's see if this works, actually. And not example.com. Let's, whoops, inside these, and let's get back our SpaceX data right here. All right, and let's see if the JSON works here. Okay, so now here's what's gonna happen. We did all this work to get the data. We are now getting the data. So this is the code right here to actually get the data. And what it does is this JSON function is actually going to basically allow us to see and to grab the JSON encoded contents. JSON encoded contents is different from just a string of JSON. It is different because it allows you to work with this a little bit better. JSON in Python actually, it essentially gets loaded in as Python dictionaries for you to be able to more easily work with it. So we're gonna take this, but this is, so we can see that we got this stuff, but here's what we're gonna do. Instead of printing it out, we don't really need to see it. We're gonna return it, okay? We're gonna return this. And then what we're gonna do real quick, I do wanna check something so you can see it a little bit cleaner. I'm only gonna return one of them. I'm only gonna return a single item. So remember I told you that, so this JSON's coming back, but it is a list. It is a list in Python. It's an array, basically. And so there are multiple ones inside of here. Because it's a list, remember lists are collections. They're iterable. They're also zero index. They're indexed, so you can actually access things by their index. So I'm gonna return a singular object here, okay? Instead of all of it for a second, I'm just gonna return a singular object for us to work with. Let's return number 0. Let's return the first one. Let's just return the first one and mess around with this. Yeah, your response is the whole terminal screen, right? Let's see. So let's return. Does that work? Is that gonna work? So I didn't get anything back, so maybe it's not what I think it is. Let's try. Oh, I didn't tell it to print anything. That might have been right. I didn't print anything though. That makes sense. So return 0 anyway. And then at the very end of this new line, and let's print this out. Actually, let's save this. Let's say result equals this, and let's print result. Let's try this out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all the data, we're gonna save it to result, and then we're gonna print result. Up here, I changed it to only return the first item in here. Yeah, you can just use import JSON too. I was trying to use the least amount of imports possible. You could also import JSON and use it that way as well. I think it'll work a very similar way. And check this out. It only returned flight number 1. Okay, so we have one item in there. Let's check. How do we know how many flights we're getting back? I have no idea how many flights we're getting back. I really don't. Let's check that. How do we check that? We can use the length function. Length will allow us to check how many items are in this collection. It's a collection. We can check how many items are in here. Len result. Let's check that length off of our belt. And let's see how many we got. Anyone want to make any bets before we do it? Anyone want to make any bets? I have no idea. I'm gonna guess from that long list. Let's see. I'm gonna guess from this list. Everything was about 100 lines. This is probably also not all of the flights. There are so APIs usually implement something called pagination, and pagination means that you that you have pages of data, and you usually have to pass in some other things to make this happen. I'm gonna say this is about 60. I'm gonna say 60. Okay, 60 items is what I'm gonna say. So we got 24, 24, 30, 24, 34. I like all the fours. Okay, 65. Okay, let's see. Let's see. 100 minutes in, we're still doing the extract. The transform is going to be easy, 100%. All right, so 111, way off, not even close. 111, phenomenal. Well, the load part's going to be super easy as well, but we'll see. Okay, so there are 111 items. We got the data. We've been able to get the data. Our extract is essentially done. If we need to get from a different endpoint, we have a function now that we can simply use, pass in the URL, and we can get that data. You got 24 on yours somehow? All right, did you, maybe there is only that many. Maybe it has to do with the way, so let me call 111 and make sure you all got 24? Yeah, as long as you take, oh yes, you have to take off the that 0. You got to take it off. The brackets 0, you got to remove that because that's only taking the first item. And yeah, so 111 is the final result. So cool. We had 111 flights and we got some information here. So now let's move on to the transform. This is partially why we're not doing any cleaning as well, but we're able to get the data now. Now let's see what we want to do with it. Now that we've extracted the data, we only want a couple pieces of data. We want mission name, mission patch image, launch year, launch success, launch failure details if the launch was unsuccessful. So we're looking for failed launches. If they're failed launches, we want to grab certain things and we want to know the payload type. So let's start to see if we can grab one piece of data. The way that we can grab one piece of data, remember, this is key value stores, okay? Look at this stuff. Flight number. We want mission name, I think it said. Oh, no, we want launch. Do we want mission name? Is that what we wanted? I already forgot. Yeah, we want mission name, patch image, launch year. So let's look at the data. This is a representation of the data we're looking at. Mission name, launch year is something we wanted. We also want, we should have grabbed the rocket. That's what we should have grabbed as well. We can still. Excuse me, launch success is in there. Oh, that was land success. Well, yeah, there's a couple of launch successful. This has a no, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not, but we need to handle for that. But a bunch of information, and we're gonna try to go through and grab that information, okay? We're gonna go through, we're gonna grab it. So how do you do any of that? And we are gonna write we're gonna write a new function to transform this. And I'm just gonna call it, I'm gonna call it process data. Actually, we'll keep it on brand and we'll call it transform data. How about that? Transform data. Okay. Does this function, a function doesn't have to take in anything, but we are going to pass something into it. We need to transform the data. So we need to pass all of the data. Yeah, 111, we got 111. We need to pass in all the data. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna pass in launch data. Again, this is a variable for this function. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it whatever you want, and we just need to use it inside of here. It's just a placeholder for the data that you're gonna pass in. So now that we need to process some of the launch data, let's see if we can simply get it. The first thing we wanna do, let's see if we can figure out how to get the value of a key in there. So let's try doing a print right now. We get launch data. And let's say, the way that you do this is you can use bracket notation. Remember, we learned yesterday, if you were on Decoded, we learned how to use maps. And the way that you reference a value of a key is to call the dictionary, or the dictionary, and you reference the key that you want. So if we want something like mission name, or what was it? Yeah, I think it was mission name. I think that's what it was called. Let's go look at the data. Like if we wanted mission name, we would reference the key. We will call what the dictionary is. We will reference the key. Okay, so launch data, we can grab launch data too, but mission name and, oh, not launch data. I see what you mean. Launch data, a little bit better there, and mission name. This will, instead of this, let's go. I have to call this function. I'm not calling this function right now. So we get the data first. Then what we're gonna do is we are going to call this next function. So we're gonna call transform data, and we're gonna call it with the result. So once we get the data for the result, that's gonna get passed into this transform data. So the data is gonna get put into here, then that's gonna get passed down into here. And so if we run this code, actually, I'm gonna need to change this first. Launch data 0. That's not gonna work unless I pick one of them, I think. Let's clear that out and let's run it. Check that out. Look at that. The very first one that comes back says Falcon Sat. And was that the first data piece of data that we got? Yes, check that out. Mission name for the very first item is Falcon Sat right there. Maybe we can find the second one on here easily or not. Mission patch, where is 2? This is the worst way to look at anything. It's so bad. Let's go down to 2, which starts on line 126, I think. Flight number 2. So if we change it to the index 1, which is the second item in the list, it should come back as demo sat. All right, so just to confirm, we're getting back the data that we're supposed to get back. We change this to 1. Oh, my computer's freezing up. Okay, there we go. Save it. And we get that going, and we should get demo sat. So cool, we are getting back to the data. Let's look at what's happening here so that you kind of understand. So launch data is all, it's that big JSON set. It's all the stuff, okay? It's every single one, all of the launches, all together. They get passed into this function. I'm saying, all right, give me launch data, but the item that's in the first index, it starts at 0, the indexing starts at 0, so the very first item starts at 0, the second item in the list is at 1. So I'm grabbing the second item in the list, and I want the value of the key mission name. And this is the syntax for it. And so it gives me the value of what the key mission name is. So now we basically did all the work. We know exactly how to grab those keys, and we need some keys. So let's go through and let's grab, let's figure out how do we go through all of them. We're only doing it with one round. How do we go through all of them and grab the stuff that we need? Well, the way that we do that is we need to do a loop. For each, yeah, sure, we can do it for each. Tab completion, yep, I'm a terrible typist. Tab completion usually works for me. Tab completion works better for me, and like, it doesn't work well for me in VS Code. It's usually the wrong option, but we'll see. Can you show the result on screen? I'm still getting 111. No, 111 is 111 is definitely the answer. It's definitely, that's how many there are. There are 111 of them. Like if we do, we'll just do it here again. We'll do length of a launch data. Oh, if you're saying you're getting, oh, you didn't remove, I see what you mean. You did it right, but you didn't, if you're still getting that, you didn't remove your print length one. Like you're probably still checking the length of results or something. Remove wherever you're checking len. You're doing that. Did not understand why we passed result into transform a data. So the reason why we passed it in is because the first function is to get the data. So we save that we're getting the data with this get launch data, and it's getting saved into result. You don't have to do it this way. This is just we want to get into decent practices. And so this probably isn't the perfect case for setting up functions for each of these. We could do them just raw, but cool. So we get the data. All the data gets saved into here. All right. This transform data function, we are writing a function that's going to do that transform process. But for it to know what data to use, we gotta pass it in there. Remember the data. So data that like happens in these functions, it's only scoped to this. So like if we were to create data and save it here, this launch data doesn't come back unless we return it. Okay. So this launch data thing right here can't be used anywhere else. Because we created launch data right here, we can't call this same launch data anywhere else. Even though I'm using the same word right here, these are two different things. They're two completely different things. I probably should change the name to make it a little more comfortable. But we need to pass all the data that we got from here. We need to pass it into here so that we can process it. So we're kind of just passing data down the chain. Well, we need a counter variable append to file list. Maybe. I don't know yet. Like I said, I haven't pre-done this. Maybe we can append to a list. We may not have to, but let's see. Let's see really quick. So what we're trying to do is we need to go through everything. So what we're going to do is we are going to iterate through launch data. Okay, we're going to iterate through all those items in the list. And so the way that we can do that is, yeah, we can do a for each loop. So I think we can do for something like for launch in launch data. So it'll go through each item, and then each item, when it runs through the loop, will be specified by the word launch. This is fanciness that happens in Python. I don't really like this. I actually find it very hard to teach this because people are like, well, what the heck is launch? Because they don't yet understand what's happening within a loop. But a loop, again, is just going to iterate over and over again while a statement you deem is true. And a for each, this is a for each loop. And so it's going to say for everything that is in this list. So it'll always be true as long as there's something left to iterate over in this list. And then so just to show you this, I'm going to print out, just to show you that it's going to go through each thing, I'm going to print out launch data. Let's print out launch data. Launch data mission name. Is that what it's called? I think mission name. Each of them has the mission name. This should print out the mission name for every single item in the list. No, it is not. List indices must be integer not slices on line 11. Oh, so, okay, so launch must be an integer here, which means I have to do launch, I guess. Does that feel right? Maybe. That seems right now. No, list indices must be interesting. So, sorry, yeah, launch and not launch data. Thank you. Launch and not launch data. Thank you very much. I was like, this seems wrong. It can't be, both of those can't be the problem. They both couldn't be the problem. So check that out. We got a full list of 111 launch or mission names, okay? A full list right here. Full list. right there. So you now, like now that we are iterating through, this is just, I only did that to show you that we are iterating through a list of items. Okay, so that big list of things, we're going through each one, and each time we are extracting, we are pulling out the mission name from each of them. And so now that we know how to do that, we can actually get all of that data. And so what's something we can do to, what's a way we can save this data? We probably don't need to save it anywhere, but you know, just to practice some things that we kind of touch. Yeah, we can append to a list. The question is at this point is we have freedom here. What do we want our data to look like? Yes, we can append to a list. So are you proposing that we have an entire list of mission names, and then we have an entire list of the other things? We're grabbing a bunch of stuff. What would we do? Turn them all into anagrams to be solved. I like that. I mean, hey, we could do that. We could turn them all into some type of anagram to be solved. That makes sense. I gotta do this tomorrow on a virtual machine. The Python and pip are installed on separate paths, I think. So when I call Python, so it might have, yeah, so that's a possibility. And it might be because you are calling Python at one version and using pip at another version. It can be pretty confusing, actually. Yes, one list for mission names, another for launch times. Okay, we can do that. I'm only, that might be the best option. I don't know. I do foresee one. No, I don't. That's a good option. It's a good option. We are gonna have to handle something one way. A list of objects with the data needed. We could also do that. We want all the data to be associated with launches, right? Yeah. So first, let's start out with just doing something. Let's do that real quick. Let's make a collection. Let's make a brand new collection, and let's call it. Let's call it exactly that. Mission names. Let's call it mission names, which is empty. Let's make a, what else do we need? We need, let's actually put this to the side because I don't remember everything that we need. We need mission names. We need mission patch image. Mission image is all I'm gonna put here. So I'm making empty lists in Python really quick. This may not, like I said, this may not be the best way, but we're not worried about the best way. We're just gonna do something. We'll make it work. We'll make it work, guaranteed. Launch success. Ooh, this one might be a problem, but okay. Launch success, and we can do launch failure. We'll just make it for everything. Yes, collections in Python, these are called lists. These are not arrays, but these are essentially, they are what most people think about as arrays. Like they're the paradigm of array that most people are thinking of. So yes, when I say collections, yes. And payload type. And I'll just do payload. Okay, so now here's what we can do. We'll make this fun. This is going to be interesting. If you do exclamation point projects, SRE DevOps, I love the name, perfect. You can get to the project. Exclamation point projects will get you the Notion link. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. The way that we add things to a collection is to append them to a collection. So what we can do is we can take this, and instead of this, we can go mission names. Yeah, I think, what do we do? Mission names dot append. I think it's a function that goes here. And so I think we can do mission names dot append right here, and that'll add everything. It'll add launch mission name to that collection. And let's check it really quick. Let's at the very end, so after it adds them all, let's go ahead and let's print out mission names just to make sure we are getting a proper collection right now. I think we will. So instead of giving us each individual one, it should give us one giant collection of them separated by commas instead. And we got a problem here. Launch mission here, one extra of these. So extra parenthesis. It'll do it. All right, there we go. It looks a little different. We are getting names, but we are getting, it is in one giant collection. Okay, so that's good. You know, got a name here, got a name here. Phenomenal. Great, good to go. So let's take this. No, let's not even take this. Let's add it. So we need launch year. We need mission image. So mission image is dot append, and we'll leave that there. We'll do launch year dot append. We're just gonna get all of our appends in place. We should have appended launch. Actually, let's do that. Launch. Let's do this. And let's take this and let's yank that. Oh no, undo that. Oh man. Undo. That's what happens when I try to do things fancy. We need launch year. Dot append. We also need launch success. This is not the best way to do it, just so y'all know, but it is the simplest way to do it. I think it's the one that makes it's the most verbose. So I think it's going to help. I think this might help if this is your, you know, if you're just trying to follow along and kind of like just understand what the heck is happening. I think this might be the best way for that. But this is definitely not the best way of putting this together. An object would be best, but we are turning into CSV, so maybe this actually might be a good way to do this. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just trying to think through it now. Also, what's up, QL Crisis? Welcome to the channel. What's that? Genius Garfield, welcome. Kappa New Frog, welcome. Emily, good to have you. Jamaican Thunder. I am also, so you all may not know, but I am Jamaican myself. Okay, you know my mother's side of my family is from the islands, you know, but my favorite movie is in fact Cool Runnings. So, you know, there we go. But unfortunately, that's about the extent of my Jamaicanness, but welcome as well. Good to have you. All right, so we're gonna append all these things. Again, probably not the best way. We could also write a little append function if we wanted to. We could write a little append function, but it's all good. Are you maroon? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. So, okay. None of the actors in Cool Runnings were Jamaican. That is a fact. But I can quote a lot of things from that Sanka, you dead man. Yeah, you're the kind of club toting, raw meat eating, me Tarzan, you Jane, and big ball bubblehead that can only encounter tin barefoot or wearing sandals. See that? One people say they know they can believe Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. Some people say they know they can believe Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. We got the one daddies and the one junior. Sanka, the fastest of Jamaica sprint. See, you know, you got me going. That's my movie. Okay, yeah, I see pride. I see power. I see a badass mother who won't take no crap off of nobody once again. See, oh man, that's some good stuff right there. I'm gonna watch that later. I'm watching that tonight. Y'all got me hyped right now. I haven't seen that in a long time. We gotta finish. Let's finish up right here. So mission image, let's find out what we need for the mission image. The mission image is a URL, I think, when I was looking at it, that can be found at, here we go. Mission patch is the actual image. So we'll take mission patch real quick. Let's stick that in here. So launch, and we will take mission patch and let's go launch. And let's pass in the year, which I think is just launch year. I'm gonna hope. I'm gonna make some guesses here. Launch, failure. The movie stream too? Maybe. If I didn't have to do so much work, I would do a Cool Running stream while I'm building my keyboard, and it would be amazing. But I don't know if that's it. So launch success. I don't know if launch success. I also don't know launch year. So let's see. Launch success. I think it's launch success, even though this one's null. So maybe we have to do some, I expected all the data to be there, but let's see. Let me scroll up a little bit and see if there's an issue with, we might pull off that part so that we don't have to null. But is this nested? That's actually, no, it's not. Launch year, window. There's success here, so maybe I have to grab that. We might pull that off just for time's sake. Since these are no, I didn't know these were, oh no, launch success right here is true. Whatever, let's try it out. Let's try it out really quick. Oh yeah, Link's mission patch. Okay, yes, Link's mission patch. I think there's a top level mission patch too. I was looking at it. I was looking at the data earlier. Okay, yeah, maybe I gotta grab it from Link's. I'll show you guys how to go in there and grab mission patch. Okay, well, let's do that. So launch success is true. It's Link's, then mission patch, I guess. I feel like there's a mission patch in there because I was looking at it. But let's see. The way that you would do nested items is simply to do something like this. You would just put in the nested next parameter there. There's no launch failure key in there. So there's only a failure key if it failed. And that's why I did put, that's something I noticed about the data. I noticed that there was only a launch failure when it wasn't successful. We're gonna pull that for time's sake. We're gonna pull it. I don't know the best way to solve it, but we will probably do a try catch or check for it and insert a random value. But just for time's sake, I think we'll pull that out. And maybe we'll skip the success and failure actually, but we'll still want to grab the image. Let's see. You can also use launch mission names. So launch mission names here, right up here. There's no launch failure key. Oh yeah. There we go. So mission patch, Link's mission match. There's also launch year, and there's payload. Let me see where that was on here. I'm pretty sure payload was top level, right? Maybe not. It's not a big deal if not, but I'm pretty sure it was. I could just use JQ to find this. But I feel like I only picked out data that was like at the top, but obviously I did not, do that. Let me go back over to here and let's look for payload. Payload ID, payload type. Payload type is what I was looking at, I think. Satellite, so payload underscore type is what we're gonna be looking for. But also, let me look at mission. What was it? Mission patch. I don't know why I thought there was a top level mission patch. There is not a top level mission patch. It's in Links, so that works. Cool. Excellent. Links mission patch. Let's do that so we can grab that data. And right now this is payload type. So launch. And we'll get here and we'll type in payload type, which is checking the time. All right, so this is going to append all the data that we need. We could print all these out. Let's just try printing one other one just to see. We don't want to print out all that data. Let's see. Let's just make sure we're getting all of them. Payload type. And I could just print out like one of each or something like that. But so key error payload type. Was that not it? Or are there ones without a payload? And so this is where it comes into the data cleaning, and that data sanitization is and error handling and making sure everything's good. Everything may not have a payload type. Everything may not have had a payload, okay? Oh, payload type is under payloads, okay. It's also underneath, it's also nested, it looks like. Payload type is under payloads. Okay. Your variable is payload. So my variable, oh yeah, you're right. But also this still is probably not gonna work because I think it's nested under something different. So yeah, variable's payload, thank you for that. And the error I think was running on was actually this one. And it's under payload. Yeah, I don't like there's too many options here. Error payload, key error payload. Is that not what it was? What was I looking at? It was, oh, it's payloads. And actually payloads is under something too. Payloads is under rockets. No, it's not. Payload type. Hold on. Payloads is underneath second stage. Oh, gross. I thought it was on top. I just want to know all the cool stuff they had in there. All right, let's choose something else real quick. That's top level, just for fun. Oh no. Oh yeah. That's too much stuff. Launch window, rocket. Let's do flight number. Yeah, that's very nested. Yeah, let's go flight number. That's exciting. Okay, very boring, but let's go flight number. I wanted to choose something cool. I felt like payload was going to be cool. And actually, no, let's just delete it. Let's just delete it at this point. So we got 3 different things here, and let's see inside of here, and let's make sure at least our images are here. Because I want images here. Okay, that's what we want. That's what we really want. And let's run that. So we got launch here. So our image links are here. So that's good. Look, we can go ahead and we can just click some of these and make sure. Look at that. We're getting that data back, and we have a whole collection of these things. These are all of the images, the patches for these things. Date and format, maybe for time's sake, no, just because we're gonna have to introduce the date time package and teach people how to use the date time package. We usually only go until 9 o'clock, so we're already behind. Yeah, every time I say it, I'm a fool. I do it every single time, but it's okay. We're getting there. So we have all these items. We have these items here. So we've collected this information. Maybe that's all we want. Maybe all we need for our tabloid is the mission name, the image, and the launch year. Cool. It would be nice to know if it was successful or not, but not a big deal. Whatever. We got that. Now what we can do is just so we can load it somewhere. Let's realistically, we could actually return all 3 of those things if we wanted. I think that's gross. But even in our transform, we could make a new load function, or we could do the load function right here. I said we should make a CSV out of this. So let's make a CSV out of this. That's fine. Let's make a CSV out of this real quick. And I'm gonna have to Google the syntax for this just because I never remember this, but you have the ability to use CSV, use CSV functions and things here. So I'm gonna import the CSV package. All right. It's gonna give us a bunch of tools to be able to create a CSV, to work with a CSV. We could use it to read CSV data if we'd like. So if you don't know what a CSV is, it's a tabular piece of data, kind of like you can think like an Excel sheet, but it's comma separated values. So it's values separated by commas, but the delineation can actually be anything, but just that's what it stands for. But you can actually change it from commas to other things. And let's check out this. So let's just Google really quick, Python, write to CSV. Write to CSV. Like I told you, this is when you're learning how to code, especially as a DevOps engineer or an SRE, a lot of times you will be writing bespoke processes to do special things. And you might be doing it in different languages at all times. You might be doing it in different pieces. So it's important to understand that, hey, like what I know about programming right now is, yes, it's helpful to do it in a language, but what you should be focused on is, hey, I know that using a programming language, I can, manipulate data in this way, and I can also write files using these things. You can pretty much everything you can do on a computer for the most part, you can do that here. And so we can kind of look at some examples of how we may do something like that. And so I'm going to take this and I'll break it down to you what's happening here. And I'm going to take with open new line equals CSV file spam reader. This is reading. I want to write here instead. Write objects. Here we go. With open for, let's see, a delimiter quoting CSV. We want to make these right new line CSV writer, right rows some iterable. All right, to make it, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna make it verbose so that you understand what's happening. I'm off to watch Cool Runnings. Thanks for the stream. Absolutely, Space Boyer. You know, 100%. I'm going to be getting off to watch Cool Runnings as soon as we're done here. But I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make it verbose so that you understand what's happening. I think is what we want to do. I think that might help. It might look a little weird, but okay, let's see real quick. So that you understand what's happening, we basically made a bunch of different collections here. We made 3 different collections, which all should have the same amount of values in them. And let's check that, because this is actually gonna be important. The way that we did this, it's gonna be important that all these things have the same amount of things in them. So let's check the length of all 3. And what is this one? Mission image. No, mission names. And the last one is going to be launch year. Okay, let's make sure all 3 of these have the same length, because if they don't, it's going to be problematic for us. 111 mission names. Oh, mission names. There we go. Oh, I mean, hey, if you want the music, it's always the same person, Harris Heller. This is Stream Beats Synthwave playlist. Let me grab it. Let's see, share, copy playlist link. There we go. You know, there are only like 4. He's making a bunch of more music for streams. It's one of the few people who preemptively knew that Twitch was going to do all these DCMA strikes and stuff. And so he made completely free music for everybody that you don't have to worry about. I love it. It's my favorite that I don't have to worry about it. So they all have the same amount of things. Because they all have the same amount of things, we can reassemble this list, no problem. And actually, I think launch year, didn't we change it to something else? Let's change, you know what we're gonna do real quick? We're actually gonna change the launch year to the mission ID, because those are all unique values, and it just looks better in a comma separated sheet. So instead, we're gonna grab the mission ID instead, and I think that it was mission ID, but I'll check. I think that's what we want. And let's run this again just to make sure. Launch year is not defined, and that's right here. Okay. Oh, is it flight number and not mission ID? That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm pretty sure you are completely right about it being flight number. Yes, it is flight number. Thank you. That is unique. So I'm gonna leave it as mission ID, but I'm gonna grab flight number instead. I'm gonna leave it called mission ID though. All right. Just make sure we still have 111 of each. Mission ID is not defined. Mission ID. Oh, no, that's right. Oh, man, I'm, you know, it's getting late, but it's okay. We're almost there. We're actually almost on the load part now. We're gonna do the load part by creating this CSV. So we have this. Let's actually, and so we created 3 different ones. Let's now actually create a. Let's now actually. Ooh, The best way. This will be interesting. So let's actually paste in this creation of a CSV really quick. Okay. Let's see something really quick, because I actually have no idea. I don't know how something I'm thinking about. I don't know if it works this way or not. Let's see. It says write rows of some iterable. So let's check. Let's check to see what that means. I want to see what it'll look like if that iterable is a different data type, and how it operates in different data types. Okay, so we copied and pasted some code, and I'll paste it in here if you want to see it. And let's take a look at what it means. What it's gonna do is it's gonna open up a file. Right now that file is gonna be called some CSV. We can call it whatever we want. So I'm gonna call it flight data.csv. Right, new line as F, cool. CSV writer F, writer.write rows some iterable. So it needs something to write onto the new lines. An iterable is, well, so this actually, you know what? Actually, it says some iterable. I don't know if I think in Python that will take a collection. We might need to actually turn that into iterable. We might need to use the iter function possibly. Let's see really quick. I'm hoping I can just call one of them. So let's say something like mission names. Let's try this out really quick, and let's run this. Okay, so now look at this. We have a flight data.csv. Okay, now this is what I wanted to see. Unfortunately, it spit it out with the strings separated by commas because commas are the delimiter here. So it actually did make a file for us. We've done we just did a load. We did a load, but well, okay. We did the loading part of the ETL process, but it's not what we want. It's not correct yet, but it is working. So write rows right now, it is writing the things that are in that that are in each of those items. So that's not what we want. Some iterable, but I wonder if there's some cool ways to do this. No. Cool. So it basically took that giant thing and it wrote everything to it. What's up? Thank you so much for the raid. Let's see, Moa Sir Souza, welcome. Come on in. We're about to finish up. We're doing our last little pieces here. We're doing the load aspect of our ETL process and making it into a CSV file. Yeah, we could make that piece of homework, but let's try to get this written really quick. But good to have you. How was your stream? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. We've gotten our data starting to be written to the CSV, and again, what does the CSV look like? It basically takes the first item, but it separates each of the values by this, and it drops it down. So there's a couple ways we can try this. We could instead make another. We did this for loop right here. We could do another. We could do another list. We could create another collection here if we wanted. Studying for my first Azure certification. So amazing. First off, let me know how that goes. I don't know the Azure certification levels yet, but this year I'm very well versed in AWS, but not well versed in Azure. And this year Azure is going to be something, or Azure is going to be something that I dive into this year. So dope. That's pretty cool. Definitely have to come through. Yes, 2 hours usually goes. It flies by for me too every single time. Unfortunately, that's how we end up in the situation that we're in right now. But so let's quickly figure out how to do this. So write rows, mission names. It took this iterable. It went through. Actually, let me see something real quick. Let me see if the iter function changes the output of this. I actually don't even know if we can call the iter function on this, but it makes. I wonder if it makes each item looked at differently. I'm gonna run it again. Let's see. All right, and should have updated this. And no, we got the exact same thing, so no big deal. Now, let me try something else. I wonder what happens if I wonder if I make a, can you even do this? Can I just make a, this is not, I know this is not gonna work, but because Python's so much magic, I really have to try this. I have to try it. I know it's not gonna work, but it might, and I might surprise myself because the magic. This is why I don't like languages that are magic. Okay, cool. Hold on. Oh, that might have worked. Okay, it changed it. That's really funny. Yeah, because of them. So really what we should do is there a way to have the CSV operation work in the for loop? Yeah, actually, yes, there is. Yes. That's good. We could do a write a row just for the row. That makes perfect sense. And we could write all of the rows together. We actually don't even need to save any of these things. That's a really good one. Oh yeah, have a good one. Have a great night. Thanks so much for the raid. Aya, that's a phenomenal answer. That's exactly what we should have done from the very beginning. And maybe we should just do that now. So what Aya is saying is that, hey, we want to open up the file. We do need to open up so we can write to it. But in the for loop, instead of having to write all these things, maybe we can just write a singular line at a time. This is very interesting. I'm actually very surprised that this worked, to be honest with you. That seems pretty wild that it worked like that, but cool. I just want to see. That makes me happy because I thought it might. But yeah, that's a good idea. So what we can do is, instead of setting up all this stuff, maybe we can instead not use any of these. Maybe we can not use any of these. And maybe we can now take let's take all this. Let's paste it. Let's do that. Let's comment out all of these in case we want to come back to it, and run the for loop with the file open. Now we'll run the for loop, and we will write these things here. So instead, we're gonna write mission names. We'll write that same collection here, writer rows, and we will write mission name. I wonder if we can write, well, this needs to be iterable. I actually don't know if this will work. It's a good question. I actually don't know if it'll work. Yeah, we could zip it 100%. We could zip the whole things together, and it'll create one big thing, and then we could call that, and that actually might work. I'm not sure that's going to write properly, but yes, we could absolutely do use the zip function, but because this might not work because of this. Let's go back really quick. Yeah, let's zip them. I like the zip idea. AB and zip. So for AB and zip, I haven't used zip in a while. Let's see. Zip, you pass in 2 iterables. But for the for loop, another for loop, that would make But doesn't the right rows need, the problem is, doesn't the right rows need an iterable? So you're saying, hey, for, that makes sense, A comma B, which is going to represent both things. In zip, well, really we need A, B, and C in zip. Maybe use right row, right rows returns character, right row returns each word. Ah, good catch. So let's actually see what's different about this really quick. First, I like this piece. Let's see. I do like that zip function. I think the zip function is going to be a really good one. Yep. So zip ABC. Yep. I do want to just see the output of this really quick, of the difference between right row and right rows in our CSV. Mission names, error name, mission names is not. Oh, yep. That makes sense. Right here. Just want to see mission name, because it's mission names. Where did I call mission name at? Mission names is not defined because it is. Mission names is not defined on line 19. Mission names. Mission underscore names. What is this? Oh, I didn't save it. What? I'm hitting the buttons to save. There we go. I was hitting the keys to save it. And let's see. Okay, so that single lines it for me. Interesting. So that might be what we need. That might be what we need, but with that for loop. And I wonder if we do like right row. I wonder if you do. I'm trying to change the least amount of code really quick. I'm trying to change the least amount. So a zip will work if we do this. Yeah, I think the zip's gonna be the best option. I do think that's gonna be that. For A comma B and comma C in zip of mission names, mission image, and Chris ended up building a list of the SpaceX scores and how many times they have been used. Dope. Excellent. Exactly. That is what I want you to be able to do with it. It looks like the zip will work best. Yeah, I think the zip will work best. And let's go mission image and mission, what is it? ID is the last thing we want. Mission ID. Okay. And so we'll take that. We don't need to open up the file every single time, but I will leave that here so that we don't have to do anything. But No, if we no, we have to put the open above because then it's gonna overwrite everything. And can we just simply write rows A, B, and C, or do I have to pass in a collection? Like, can I do something like this? I think it's gonna append to the first line over and over again. Is what I think is gonna happen. Right row takes exactly one argument, and I can pass in maybe a list of these things, and we can try right rows in a second. Yep, yeah. And yeah, see, this is what I thought would happen with the right row. So actually, I think this would actually work if I move the with open above this, above the for loop. I actually think this would actually work just fine. And I'm gonna do that really quick because I do think that will work. Yeah, I think this will work. But let's see. Oh. Because this actually did just write correctly, but it wrote, so this did what I wanted it to do. It created the comma separated values. This is just the empty value in between. But because we were opening up this file every single time, it was overwriting every single time. And here we go. There it goes right there. This is it. It gives us, and so we don't have a title. We should give the rows a title, but we get the flight ID basically. Actually, is that the order that we want? Let me make sure we got the order that we want. I think I want the mission ID first. Let's do mission ID first. Mission ID will be the first thing in the file now. Cool, so now it's ordered properly, the name of the mission and any image that we want. And so you could take this and you could add all the things that you need in there. So, you know, we open up the file first and then we do our for loop in there so that it, you know, doesn't overwrite everything every time. Great. Okay, so we did that, like this was actually the load right here. So I will put this here, loads data to CSV. And we have a functioning implementation of an ETL process. So two things actually. One, again, that was obviously it's not optimized to be the best thing. We actually don't need, like, we can delete these 3 lines. This is not the most optimized. Not a big deal. That's not a problem at all. The goal of this is not to make it the most optimized. Really, I actually glad it says sloppy. It's actually pretty sloppy. The reason why, like, I actually like this because a lot of ETL processes, a lot of them that you will write, again, you'll have very interesting paradigms and you'll have very interesting ways of breaking up data. And a lot of ETL processes feel gross, to be honest. At least the transform layer of those processes feel kind of weird because of the manipulation that you have to do with the data. Sometimes it's pretty extensive. Sometimes not only are you just grabbing data and just grabbing little pieces like we're doing, sometimes you are grabbing data and doing significant processing and calculations on this data, against this data, to create something new and to create different hashes and stuff like that before loading it into your destination data store. But at the end of the day, we took the data out of here, we grabbed some things that we need, and we created a final resting place, a final document that has the data, the same data that so the data that we extracted from the source, and we put it into some kind of output here. Again, very free flowy, but what this is going to do is, I hope this is I'm going to give you this code. I'm about to push it to a repo right now, but I want you to play with this. If you have no idea what you're doing, the best way to learn how to code is to mess around. Like, literally change one thing and see what happens. Change another thing, see what happens. It's very helpful when you are like, hey, I don't, your mind will start to find the patterns. And so we have a functioning thing. So you can download this code and you can simply run it and it will work. Can anyone help me with Docker? Is it common, safe practice to have VS Code remote container extension and code directly in the Docker container? Oh, that's a great question. Is it safe? That's fine. It's fine to do that, but you make sure then you're gonna have to. The problem is if you do that, you won't make sure you copy the code out of the container. If you're planning to run the thing as a container, you got to make sure you get the code out of the container so that you can build container images with those files. But that's fine. Yeah, I would attach a volume as well. I would attach a volume. So that's one way to get it out of there, is by attaching a volume. But I definitely get why using it. I mean, you have the runtime right inside it. That's fine. That completely works. If you're using it purely just for the coding nature of it, yeah, volume works perfectly, and you can push stuff to GitHub and do what you need to do, kind of as is if you'd like. All right, so let's push this to GitHub really quick. It's already in a repo, so the same repo that we've been using, it's already here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the git status. Whoa, what do you mean not a git? Did we not push the code from Monday? Seriously? We didn't push. Oh, we pushed crash course only. Okay. We pushed crash course only. Hold on. I'm gonna fix this repo so that we don't have a bunch of repos sitting around, because we already have too many repos sitting around. Not watch this, but it's gonna take me 2 seconds. And you know my 2 seconds is like at least 3 minutes. So let's see. DevOps Bootcamp Jan 2020 repositories. Let's see. We have pipelines Q1 2021. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do right now. It's gonna be fast. I'm gonna move all these. So I'm gonna move mkdir crash course coding dash crash dash course, and I'm gonna move star.py into coding crash course, and then I'm going to move // what do we call that, ETL, right here. All right, there we go. I did it. I did everything we needed to do. Status. All right, cool. Git add dot git commit dash m fixed repo structure and added ETL process. All right, there we go. Oh, no. I got an error there with the commits. Oh, the space on the dash M. There we go. Did we write, did writer.write_row need the argument to be a list? That's a good question. Yes, I think it did. I think it write row only takes one argument. So yeah, I think it had to be. So any iterable works, but I think it has to be a singular iterable. I don't think it can be, you can't be, yeah, for example, a tuple, but it couldn't be like A, B, C, because though that's not a single iterable. All right, so these are now in GitHub. So if you already clone this repo, you can simply just do a pull and it will update everything for you. This code is in the ETL folder here. If you like it, mess around, play around with it. I have an assignment dropping for you that's gonna guide, if you don't know what to do with it, with some options to possibly extending it. Try it out. It's okay. I promise you. Just explore, see what you can do. I'm getting this error. New line is an invalid keyword argument for open. That's probably because you are missing so that's probably happening here. New line's invalid keyword argument for open. There's some error with this. Chaos for the fly, I appreciate that. I hope everyone had a good time doing this. There will be more. So there will be more. We are going to code more, and we're going to do more structured coding because this is not the software course. But the concept is the ETL process. This is something that you might have to do. You can learn how to write the code. The thing that you want to do is learn how to solve problems using the code. And this like, I'm not joking. You will get paid for doing things exactly like this. One of the big things that we had to do that was very valuable was to pull a bunch of data from an old Drupal 7 site. We wrote Python to web scrape a bunch of data out of it, and we got a bunch of data using Beautiful Soup. Got it, we transformed it. We spent a while doing this because it was a lot of data. We transformed it and we had to get it loaded into a new data store that they were using to serve data. So you can get paid a lot for that, a whole lot for that. It's new line and not new line. Well, oh yeah, it's lowercase L. That's probably it right there. You got it, that's a good catch. The lowercase L there, because that's a keyword there. All right, cool. That is there. That's it. So tangible takeaways: ETL process, extract, transform, load. Extracting is getting the data, and getting it maybe from multiple locations, but grabbing that data. We did that using the request package and making a web request through an API. It could be a lot of different data stores that you're grabbing from, but you got to figure out a way to grab it. Transform could be any number of things, whatever the business needs, whatever format you need it in. That's what you might have to do. You might have to do some cleansing of the data. You might have to do some validation of the data to make sure things are good. But essentially, at the end of the day, you are simply changing the data and manipulating it so that it works for whatever you all need it for, and then loading it into a final destination resting place for you all to use this thing. Fairly simple process. I'm glad we got to go through and do this. If you want to see a more in-depth one, if you want to see a more in-depth piece of code for this, we wrote, so A Cloud Guru has a challenge. We did this. We did a data loader. It has everything. It has everything you need. This is a much different one. You can take it and you can run it, and I'll send you what the challenge was. If you ever want to practice it yourself, A Cloud Guru. If you weren't here for us with this, you can go ahead and you can follow this. It's always been a pleasure. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it. Appreciate you all coming through and spending some time with me. But here is that challenge. If you want to do it, it's already passed. They're supposed to release some new ones. But if you want to see how the code that we wrote in that repo matches up with what the challenge actually was, you can take a look. It's a much more robust option than what we did here. And there's some extra stuff that has to do with the cloud as well. So again, it might be something you have to build up to, but the Python code itself is very similar to what we just did. So you can kind of check that out if you want to see that. But that's it. We'll be back tomorrow with, it'll be decoded, but I think tomorrow we're spending more time on loops. I think we're spending a whole day on loops. And we'll actually be solving some problems tomorrow. We'll be solving some basic algorithmic problems tomorrow in Decoded. So if you want to come through, have a good time with that. Appreciate it. GitHub Dog, welcome to the channel. Also, Marcello, welcome. And I think that's everybody. Cool. All right, who we're going to raid? Let's see. I got to get some food. I am starving. And I got to watch Cool Running, so I appreciate that. I really do. Oh, the prime again. We're going to see the prime again because we asked about Vim, and we need to go learn some Vim stuff because he's always using Vim. Prepare to be overwhelmed by the most entertaining man in science and technology. He really is the most entertaining person in science and tech. So yeah, cool. Zip longest places, none where no values. Oh, if you use zip longest, yeah. All right, cool. We're out of here in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you everybody again for another great night. I appreciate it. Yes, the beats is before you go, I'll paste it back in there. It's this. Here's a link to those to the playlist and Spotify. You can grab it real quick, and I'll see you all tomorrow or later next week. Peace out.